Flames curled beneath the F-35's titanium belly as Maeve Rilland yanked the foam hose trigger, heart battering louder than the base-wide klaxons and the frantic thunder of heavy boots. Fresh smoke rolled through the cavernous training hangar. On Naval Auxiliary Landing Field Brightwater, staining overhead LED beams as sickly bronze. Maeve's goggles fogged, but she refused to flinch. A hydraulic line had ruptured after an over-torqued bolt failed. She'd warned them yesterday, and the crew chief had laughed, called her clipboard girl. Now the jet's belly was bleeding, and everyone was suddenly listening. She worked fast, hose gripped in slender but calloused hands, the nozzle dancing with practiced precision. Compressor whine, crackling fire, shouted commands. A chaos symphony. Maeve found the rhythm between them, eyes narrowed to slits behind soot-speckled lenses. 30 yards away, pilots in bright green flight suits argued about evacuation routes instead of grabbing extinguishers. Typical, she thought, too many angles and egos. Not enough action. A memory flashed. Dad's voice on the Wyoming range, adjusting her rifle stance at age 10. Control his breath, kid. Breathe, and the target obeys. She inhaled through the smoke, exhaled slowly, and the hose stream cut precisely through a flare at the wing root. Control was breath even here. Swirling vapor cast a mirror into the past. Mom's medic hands, knitting her scraped knees, whispering that even the tiniest wound told a story of survival if treated with respect. Maeve respected the F-35s. Pain now, reading the hiss of hot fuel against cool foam like a pulse under bandages. She'd chosen engines over engines of war medicine, yet the principles echoed the same. A siren crescendoed. Security forces poured in, rifles slung. One yelled, "Non-essential personnel. Clear the bay." Maeve's jaw tightened. Non-essential? She'd isolated the leak, shut the low-pressure valve, probably saved a $250 million airframe. But protocol trumped reason. 2 MPs grabbed her arm. "Easy, Sergeant," she snapped, shrugging off their hands. Sweat plastered loose strands of coffee-brown hair to her temples. "I still need to cool the avionics vent. Internal temperatures are spiking. Orders are orders." The bigger guard's tone was final. He scanned her ID patch. Civilian contractor, structures and power plant. Not pilot. Not officer. Not important. Maeve sealed the hose and stepped back as the fire suppression system slammed down steel shutters, leaving only slits for exhaust fans. She heard compressed nitrogen hiss behind bulkheads, a good sign, then felt herself being steered toward the personnel door like misplaced cargo. Outside, humid night air slapped her cheeks. A line of medics jogged past, stretcher lights flashing red ghosts over her fatigues. She caught her reflection on the glass, soot-streaked cheeks, eyes bright with unshed fury, a tremor of adrenaline in her neck. Inside, the fire was already dying. She had done her job. She had kept them safe. And they had thrown her out. Drop a "if you've ever been underestimated" under the buzzing sodium yard lamps. She paced like a caged lynx. The hangar's blast-proof doors sealed with a heavy thunk. Maeve imagined the men inside debriefing, ranking each other's heroics, sipping electrolyte packets, applauding the smooth automatic systems. No one would credit her insight about the bolt torque tolerance. No one would mention the 4 minutes. She'd fought alone. She kicked a chip of concrete, sending it skittering beneath a parked tow tractor. Footsteps approached. Lieutenant Caleb Jourdain emerged from shadow, visor up, helmet clutched beneath one arm. He was 30, square-jawed, the type who looked born in grayscale photographs of varsity glory. "Rilland, you all right?" he asked, voice tempered by genuine concern. "Peachy," she said flatly. He winced, glanced at the dark sky-low clouds glowed with base floodlights. "Look, it's just procedure. Ops wants a clean log. If a contractor gets hurt..." "Yeah," she interrupted. I'm a liability until the multi-million-dollar asset explodes. Then I'm acceptable collateral, she exhaled. What's next, Lieutenant? Paperwork? Caleb ran a hand through cropped blonde hair. Tomorrow's readiness drill got bumped to 06. Command's on edge after that drone swarm in the Gulf. They won't admit it, but tonight shook confidence. Her gaze shifted to the adjacent runway, where 635A fighters sat in neat formation, canopies glinting like beetle shells. RBF pins dangled crimson under their noses. The seventh jet, the one she'd saved, was still sealed inside, its silhouette flickering behind shutter slits. Confidence is overrated, she muttered. Competence is cheaper. Caleb almost smiled. I keep telling them you're wasted on composite patches. You logged simulator hours no one knows about, right? A beat. That stays between us, she whispered. He nodded and checked his watch. Debrief in 10. I should go, she said. Pretend the smoke cleared itself. He jogged off, boots thudding. Maeve looked after him. Caleb wasn't the worst. He saw people, mostly. Still, he was part of the machine, and machines prioritized. Optics. The overhead PA cracked. All flight personnel report to Brief Room Alpha. The voice carried urgency, higher pitch than usual. Winds shifted, bringing the ocean's brackish scent. She felt the coming storm before hearing distant thunder. Inside Brief Room Alpha, men argued with rising volume. Maeve couldn't hear words, but she read posture through the frosted window. Crossed arms, stabbing fingers, tension lines across shoulders. Something had gone very wrong. An alarm different from the earlier klaxon cut through the night, a pulsing triple tone reserved for immediate scramble, not drills. Runway floodlights snapped to bright white, painting the tarmac like midday. Maeve's skin prickled. A pair of ground crew sprinted past towing a weapons loader cart. Live ordnance. The yellow bands around the JSOW missiles glowed under LEDs. Not a drill. Her pulse accelerated. She reached inside her pocket and touched a dog-eared photograph. Dad kneeling by a rust-patched pickup. Her tiny hand balanced on the steel barrel of his retired sniper rifle. Mom in army greens, stethoscope slung, bright grin. Legacy wasn't a burden. It was momentum. She walked toward the small auxiliary operations trailer crammed near the fuel farm. Inside, two controllers argued over a satellite feed showing red icons clustering along a coastal grid. She stepped through the open door. Restricted area, ma'am, a young tech said. Not looking for permission, Maeve answered, taking in the screen. It displayed a swarm of fast-moving contacts converging on civilian sea lanes 21 miles east. Drones? Fast boats? It didn't matter. Response needed air power. The tech challenged her again, but she cut him off. Vector? He blinked, stammered. Heading 210, speed. Thank you. She turned away. The door slammed behind her. Gust tossed her hair. The whole base felt charged, like circuits warming before overload. Tow trucks rolled, engines growling, loaders armed jets. Pilots jogged to lockers. She saw Caleb among them, helmet bouncing against his spine. Yet something snagged her attention. An op sergeant blocking the path to the F-35 she'd rescued. She strode over. Why's that bird grounded? The sergeant scowled. Avionics overheated during the fire. Cooling sequence incomplete. Flight computer still in lockdown. No assigned pilot anyway. Assign one, Maeve said. He looked her up and down. Sure, let me grab any old janitor too. He didn't recognize sarcasm's cousins. She inhaled frustration. Over the runway's roar, she heard tower chatter. 4 jets cleared for immediate takeoff, 2 others still. Fueling, time to intercept 15 minutes barely. The 7th jet mattered. Numbers mattered in the sky. Maeve rolled her shoulders, thinking through the F-35 startup cycle she'd memorized from maintenance manuals and simulator nights. Power, coolant, INS-align, taxi, throttle release. She could be airborne in 6 minutes if the cooling loop finished. If A. Siren flared again, different. Loss of oxygen supply in one of the ready jets. A tech cursed. Another plane sidelined. 5 combat-ready fighters remained. The approaching. Hostiles numbered at least 20. Those odds turned blood cold. She'd seen wargame tables, attrition curves punished inferior, numbers geometrically. She jogged toward the grounded jet's ladder. The sergeant blocked her. "Move," she said quietly. "Lethal, get authorization. Authorization's busy." She stepped left. He mirrored. Ray scowled, legs braced. Thunder cracked overhead, real now, as if the sky wanted witness data from the control tower. A frantic voice spilled across all speakers. Unknown group accelerating. 5 minutes to coastal grid. The intercom squealed. Naves. Chest tightened. She pictured merchant ships, fishing boats, maybe a passenger ferry, lives, unaware they'd become pawns in someone's test. She saw Dad aligning crosshairs for one life-saving shot, Mom defibrillating a stranger in a roadside accident. Service wasn't uniform color, it was choice. Drop a if you jump in even when no one asked. She squared to the sergeant. "If that jet stays on the ground, people die. Is your stripe worth that?" Her voice was calm ice. He hesitated. 5 seconds stretched. Over his shoulder, Maeve saw Caleb sprinting nearer, headset askew. He met her eyes, recognition dawning. "Let her through," Caleb barked, shocking the sergeant aside. Rilland's systems qualified. She ran the sim better than half the squadron. He tossed her a helmet, the spare he always carried. She caught it, sliding fingers over the visor's edge. A small grin flickered quick as lightning hitting water, beautiful, lethal. "Tell Ops. I'm slot 7. She climbed the ladder. Inside the cockpit, the world narrowed to screens, toggles, and the deep scent of scorched wiring. Foam residue dried in spiderweb patterns. She strapped in, fingers dancing across switches, battery on. Auxiliary power. Online, cooling loop reading 85 degrees Celsius and falling. She coaxed it faster with an override Dad would have admired. Her headset crackled. Caleb's voice. "Towers balking. They want your flight quals. Tell them to check the database under necessary." She heard him chuckle despite tension. INS alignment counted down from 90 seconds. She used the time to seal her flight suit, plug oxygen, and call up the tactical data link. Red icons. Still converged. Naval assets scrambled to reposition, but would arrive late. Air cover was at Tower. Unidentified pilot in aircraft 7, state name and rank. Maeve, press transmit. "This is Rilland, civilian contractor 007. I'm the pilot you have." Silence. Then, negative. Eject immediately. Vacate. Airframe. She keyed back, voice soft steel. "Tower, spool my clearance later. We're out of minutes." Reactor spooled, hummed through the seatback like a giant purring predator. Temperature stabilized at 65 degrees Celsius. She flicked canopy close. Hydraulic hiss sealed her into a world of green and gold HUD symbology. Throttle idle. Control surfaces twitch self-test. Brakes hold. Checklist flashes blurred, she'd memorized. Then Tower, security en route to extract you. Do not taxi. Outside, a Humvee skidded toward her. A guard jumped out, waving a sidearm, yelling. Maeve ignored the theater. She advanced throttle to ground idle, brakes still on. The F-35's whine rose, grew thunderous. A tap on her canopy. "Caleb." She opened the inter-cockpit channel. "You?" "Sure," he asked, eyes wide. "Which is worse, court-martial or casualty report?" He pressed a palm to the glass, then stepped back and saluted. She returned it with 2 fingers to the visor. Tower's voice cracked again. Higher, desperate. "All units, unauthorized takeoff imminent. Stop Aircraft 7 by any means. Lights across the ramp flashed red. 2 tow tractors started rolling to block the taxi lane. The Humvee raced closer. Maeve exhaled, Dad's mantra echoing, "Control is breath." She released brakes, nudged throttle. The jet lurched forward, wheels squealing on wet concrete. Tow tractors were 70 yards ahead, forming an X across the center line. She had 60 knots before reaching them. Not enough to rotate, but enough to scare brass. She toggled nose wheel steering high, slewed left, squeezed between service carts, missing a tow bar by inches. Sparks showered behind. The Humvee fishtailed, braking too late. Engine roared to 40% as she entered the active taxiway. Tower barked, "Last warning." Maeve aligned nose to runway 27, 8,000 feet of moon-washed asphalt stretching into the unknown. A security truck turned onto the runway threshold ahead, lights strobing. She ramped power 50%, 60%, spooling. The beast behind her shoulders wanted the sky. Inside her helmet, sweat cooled. HUD flashed all systems green except comms ECCM. They were trying to jam her. She switched to backup channel. Propulsive pitch rose. The ground vibrated. Thunder overhead answered nature's chorus as lightning forked beyond the coastal ridge. She whispered, "Mom, Dad, guide my hands," and shoved throttle to military power. Rubber thundered. The security truck gunned forward to cut her off. She stabbed rudder, tires burning, swerved into centerline. Speed climbed. 80, 110. 145 knots. Hydraulics sang dot at 150. She felt the jet wanting lift. She pulled gently. Nose struts lightened. Vibration softened. The truck flashed past beneath left wing. Its driver screaming into radio. The F-35 leapt skyward just as lightning cracked. Again, illuminating her climb like a coronation. Tower. Unauthorized Aircraft 7 airborne. The voice wilted with awe. Maeve's altimeter spiraled upward. Storm clouds waited, but beyond them lay a horizon swollen with threat and the chance to rewrite every assumption ever made about her worth. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're from. If this story moves you, please subscribe. Tomorrow, I have a special story for you. Lightning sheared across the cumulonimbus wall ahead, turning the cockpit into a strobe-lit cavern of glass and angles. Maeve Rilland guided the F-35 through boiling updrafts at 300 knots, every muscle tuned to the machine's faint murmurs. The stealth jet felt alive, hungry, hesitant, suspicious of the stranger in its seat. Another rumble, deeper than the engine's tourbillon note, rattled her bones. She rolled 20 degrees right to skirt a burgeoning anvil cloud, HUD. Symbols rippling green across the wet canopy. Moisture streamed over transparent armor like meteors in reverse. Outside, the storm's belly glowed sodium orange from the base floodlights she'd just left behind. Drapa, if you've ever raced a storm, simply because there was no other choice. Behind her, tower frequencies hissed, static jamming still. Active. She switched to encrypted maintenance channel Charlie 7. Few knew it existed. Caleb's voice cracked through, ragged with relief and something like awe. Visual on your exhaust bloom, Maeve. Primary strike flight just launched. Your spearhead. Copy? She steadied her breathing. Copy. What's target picture? Confirmed swarm of high-speed drones originating from 3 mothership skiffs. Coast Guard intercept 20 minutes out. Aerial response is UN Falcons. 1 through 5. Static gnawed his words. Rules of engagement authorize lethal force once drones cross demarcation. Echo. She glanced at datalink. Red triangles crowded her tactical display. Tiny arrows marching toward a pulsing blue coastline. Civilian ships pinned soft white. A cruise liner sat dead center of likely impact. 2,400 souls, give or take. Her gut tightened. Maeve trimmed nose, increased throttle. Afterburner would betray her stealth signature. but time bled. Fast, she considered. Stealth versus speed, lives versus doctrine. The choice crystallized. She eased forward, letting the Pratt & Whitney F-135 spool just shy of AB. A compromise that would melt minutes without painting neon on enemy sensors. Caleb's voice again, lower. Command is divided, you outsid. No time, she cut in. Tell Falcons to angle high, hold dark. I'll drop low, head on, draw points. That's suicide. It's geometry. They're programmed to chase first contact. Let them chase me. The logic felt cold as rainwater down her spine. Silence, then a terse. Falcons Vector per 7's plan. Rilland, Godspeed. She banked, slicing. Through the cloud deck into moonless dark. The ocean lay black beneath, ruffled by storm gusts. Radar altimeter read 300 feet, dangerously low for a bird designed to own the stratosphere. Wind shear buffeted the airframe. The horizon vanished behind curtains of spray. Memory flickered. Dad teaching her to skim canyon walls in a battered Cessna, proclaiming, "Low and fast redraws the map." Mom countering later, patching her elbow scrape. "Fast is fine until you need the ground to disappear." Both lessons gripped her now. The tactical display chirped first drone contact. 6 miles, inbound at 400 knots. She zoomed the sensor feed. Black triangle, blunt nose. Twin props, a cheap suicide drone, packed with homemade high explosive, no thermal signature worth trusting. They must be networked, using line of sight comms bounced across the swarm. Cut the nodes, swarm dies. She armed the 25mm cannon. Missiles risked overkill. She'd save them for the skiffs. OUD Pipper glowed. At 2 miles, she jinked right, pulling 3 Gs, nose tracking. The drone tried to match, algorithm lagging. She squeezed the trigger. Recoil trembled through controls rounds, tore the night. Tracer, less but deadly. The drone disintegrated. In a blossom of sparks, 5 more icons split like angry bees. She rolled inverted, dove to 200 feet. Salt mist lashing canopy. Sweat stung her eyes. She lined up second drone, fired hit. Third, missed. Fourth overshot, diving toward the sea, then arcing back like a knife boomerang. She banked hard. Engine howl merging with wind shriek. G-forces bit her ribs. Cannon ammo dwindled, 70 rounds left. She picked off the third drone just as warning tone blared. Missile lock. One of the drones carried an IR warhead. Countermeasures blossomed, flares spattered orange. Chaff streams silver. The missile chose a flare, exploded harmless. Shockwaves slapped her wings. She exhaled, calm returning by practice will dot droppa. If you've ever kept your cool when the world lit up around you. Up on 30,000 feet, Falcons reported unsighted. The storm cloaked them. Good. Drones clustered on Maeve, exactly as intended, but each second narrowed her margin. HUD showed new ping surface skiffs accelerating. Likely launching more drones. She needed eyes. Request sensor piggyback, she told Caleb. Uploading a WACS feed now, he answered. The display brightened. Hundreds of icons unfurling like an angry constellation. Maeve sucked a breath. 30+ drones, 3 skiffs, all closing. The cruise liner's transponder ID blinked. Solstice. Queen. Weather kept her passengers below deck blessing. She opened weapons page. Only 2 AIM-9Xs on board. The rest left for tomorrow's drill. Cannon low. She weighed options. Falcon flight carried full loads but stayed high and stealthy. Once she broke the swarm's spine, they dived to mop up. First, the spine. Maeve spied a pattern. Drones plotted to encircle, cut off retreat. Funnel her towards skiffs overlapping manpad nests, a kill box. She smiled despite herself. Algorithms often forgot human irrationality. She yanked throttle to afterburner. Flames erupted behind, casting blue light across waves. The stealth. Compromise died, but surprise traded places. Drones diagnosed her vector too late. She slashed between two groups, cannons roaring. 3 combusted. Another clipped a wing on her exhaust wake and cartwheeled into the sea. A buzzing alarm. Fuel flow spiked. Engine tongue rising. She toggled cooling doors, trusting the auto systems. She'd spent months tweaking on the ground. They obeyed. At Mach 1.1, she roared toward the skiff's fast attack boats retrofitted with drone racks. Radar picked faint blips, metal hulls massed as fiberglass yachts. She dove further, 50 feet off wavetops, salt plastering canopy. Murky shadows became hulls. Flame flashes, manpad launches. She jinked, pulled 4G, flares again. 2 missiles. Fizzled behind. Third kept climbing, tracking heat plume. She cut throttle, engine temp dropping. Missile overshot, dummying into blackness. She punched throttle back up. Silvery streaks of anti-air tracer from deck-mounted guns stitched the night. Maeve banked, lined up first skiff, flipped master arm to ripple fire. She loosed one AIM-9X. Guiding via helmet, Q missile shrieked. Off rail, arced, bloomed white. Impact, skiff erupted, shockwave flattening wave crests. Secondary blasts ignited fuel drums, orange pillars. But the second skiff launched 4 drones in response. Their nav lights dark. Caleb's voice urgent. Falcons engaging upper swarm. Skiff count still 2. Make it 1, Maeve muttered, swinging around. Cannon empty, now 0 rounds. 1 missile left. She needed angle and time she didn't have. The third skiff peeled away, turbocharged. Maybe remote operated. Maeve climbed to 200 feet to reset. But cockpit caution panel lit amber. Flap sees fault. Hydraulic line residual fire damage. She cursed. Roll rate degraded 30%. That would cripple dogfight turns. She toggled backup servos. An experimental mod she'd installed days earlier for redundancy tests unauthorized. The system chirped green. She grinned, thanked past Maeve. Ahead, 4 drones from the skiff split high-low. 2 diving to wave hop, 2 climbing to bracket. She keyed Mike. Falcon 1, need assist. Vector 299, Angels 0.2. Falcon 1, a veteran major replied, acknowledged, 10 seconds. Relief warm as sun, but time didn't wait. Maeve rolled left, tailing low drones. They wove unpredictably. She fired last missile at lead, watched it blossom into spray and fireball. But second drone slipped past, gunning for Solstice Queen. Speed your feet. She rammed throttle, goose, stepping over whitecaps. The drone was small, radar cross-section tiny. Missile lock near impossible. She'd have to physically intercept ramming speed. Altitude 80 feet, distance closing. Cruise liner lights shimmered ahead through rain. A giant waking to nightmare. Passengers began streaming onto deck, filming lightning unaware. Maeve came. Parallel, 200 meters off drone's right. She considered wingtip vortex trick, maybe blow it off course. But if she clipped it wrong, both could smash the ship. She leveled, inched closer, 150 knots faster. Quick mental math. At converge point, gentle nudge impact minimal, but enough. Dad's lesson. Fine adjustments beat brute force. Drop a, if you've ever thrown caution aside for a perfect. Angle. She eased stick, bringing left wing nearly over drone. Swirling wake buffeting it. The drone jerked, autopilot overcorrected. Side slipped. Maeve nudged again, sending it into microstall. It spiraled, splashed 60 yards short of the liner. Cheers erupted over crew channel. Some still thought it missile splash, but celebration. Died quick. Third skiff broadcast new wave. 8 drones heavier, with proper radar seekers. Falcons tangled overhead. Night sky blossomed with missile corkscrews. 1 Falcon took a hit, wing sheared. Pilot ejected, chute opening late but safe. Maeve's arsenal empty. Hydraulic patchwork trembling. Fuel at 60%. She needed a new plan. She eyed the second skiff, still burning. Wreckage floated, fuel slick shone. The third skiff turned. Northeast, retreating behind drone screen. If she couldn't shoot it, maybe she could spook it. She climbed to 500 feet, leveled with exploding cloud storm and warlights merging. She keyed Caleb, vector me to drone command link. Best guess, relay buoy launching from skiff. Off burst every 30 seconds. She thought fast. Drone network used mesh. Kill relay, swarm autonomy degraded. She could jam with onboard EW sweetbutt. Needed line of sight and stable flight to program pulses. Hydraulics threatened that. She toggled autopilot partial, input economized bank. Aircraft wobbled, but held. She tapped into ECM menu, selected directed burst, tuned to UHF band. Timer. Tick next relay in 8 seconds. Maeve aimed nose at predicted buoy coordinate. Fingers poised over transmit. 7, 6, 5. Transmit. Microwave burst lanced invisibly across waves. Her ECM panel flashed ready. Data page flickered, drones paused, icons drifting. For 3 heartbeats the swarm lost step. Falcon's dove, Reaper swift, missiles flowering. 5 drones down instantly, 2 more disoriented into sea. The last regained link, someone switched frequency. Maeve cursed. The jammer could chase only so fast. Still, swarm thinned to dozen, but fuel counted. Falcons needed her land soon. She 2-dot warning tone blared. Radar lock. A drone high left painted her with coup band. She swung nose but powerless to shoot. Missile streak time to impact 3 seconds. Autopilot cut. She rolled 20 degrees, dumped speed. Flare dead. Missile corrected, too close. She yanked eject handle no, training yelled, last resort. Instead she triggered formation lights full bright, heated canopy, tricking seeker to aim front. Missile. Dove nose, she pitched up, missile slid under belly, detonating 5 yards beyond tail. Blast slapped jet, alarm screamed. Engine spiked, then stabilized. Control surfaces fluttered, but responded. How to read damage moderate. Bat cockpit panel, a plume of smoke. She toggled extinguishers, hoped wiring held. Taste of metal-filled mouth. Falcon 2's voice. We're Winchester, no Fox 2's left. Swarm still operational. An image formed. Use the F-35 itself as weapon sonic boomshock over drones. Maybe disable electronics. Crazy. But Dad once said, when tools run out, become the tool. She climbed to 15,000 feet, ignoring engine protests. Lightning chased her. At Mach 1.2 she dove, slicing through cloud layers straight toward drone cluster. Sonic cascade erupted behind, thunderclap stacking on natural storm booms. Pressure waves hit water, rippling out like thrown stones. Drone sensors jittered, 5 lost stability, spinning. A 6th detonated from structural stress, but Maeve's engine coughed. Intake swallowed vortex debris, temperature spiked red. She throttled back. Alarms dimmed, but not out. Remaining drones reorganized, shifting to strike the cruise liner again, AI relentless. Falcons had nothing left. Coast Guard cutters 10 minutes out. Options dwindled. Maeve's gaze latched on burning. Wreck of skiff 1, fuel still pooling, slick connecting flaming islands. If she channeled that blaze across water toward drones, like a drifting minefield. Idea insane, but maybe workable. She selected flight path. Strafe low over flaming slick, direct exhaust to push fire toward swarm. F-35's vector thrust could blow a sheet of flame, but such pass required precise altitude 50 feet. Moderate speed, wings level, hydraulics marginal, gusty wind, live drones firing. Failure meant immolation. She banked into descent path. Caleb's voice cracked. Maeve, what are you doing? She muted. Answers waste breath. Descending. Flaming slick loomed, a molten river dancing on waves. Air felt oven hot. She set nozzle. Downward 2 degrees, vectored thrust. Jet rolled momentarily. She corrected dot at 40 feet altitude. Engine roar pressed water flat beneath. Exhaust sent flames racing, chasing her tail, a dragon's tongue. Fire sheet expanded, wind carrying it toward drone skimming low. Drone sensed heat anomaly, algorithms. Confused spread erratic. First drone hit flame front, fuel cell cooked boom. Others diverted, colliding, chain bursting. She banked away, flame curtain still advancing like wrathful dawn. 6 drones obliterated. Remaining 4 climbed higher, aimed for Falcons instead. Falcons maneuvered, but lacked ammo. Maeve thought of cannon empty unless maintenance mods included emergency reload stow under seat. She'd tested concept with crew, but never loaded rounds. She checked armament. Diag surprise. 50-round reserve, flagged mate. Someone had left test belt and drum. She punched command to cycle reserve. Gun rumbled, belts feeding. Green ready. Fate smiled. She pitched up into clouds, scanning for drones versus Falcon silhouettes. A blip, drone lining behind Falcon 3, preparing collision course. Maeve rolled inverted, dove, eyes on Pipper. At 800 yards, she fired. Metallic. Thunder rattled. Rounds chewed drone. It burst, debris peppering Falcon's tail but harmless. Reserve ammo now 15 rounds. She eyed next drone, sweeping across tail of another Falcon. She vectored, but engine sputtered again from previous abuse. Power down. She coaxed, babying. Throttle, drone locking onto her now. She dipped wing, pulling tight barrel roll, sensors shrieking. On rollout, Pipper intersected drone profile. She squeezed trigger. Last 15 rounds speared through night. 13 struck, shredding fuselage. Explosion lit her canopy white. Silence after. Radar showed no drones. Skiff 3 accelerated away, but Coast Guard cutters now 8 miles armed. Falcons, though low on fuel, held sky. Maeve exhaled, then. Alarm. Engine oil press low. She'd pushed power plants beyond spec. Leak likely. She turned nose to base, 70 miles west. Fuel 37%. Hydraulics wounded. Oil pressure decay timeline tight. Tower now hailed. Voice of commander himself. Growl between relief and fury. Aircraft 7, return immediately. You'll land and report to brig. She snorted. Roger, pattern Q. You will hold until cleared. Other damaged aircraft priority. Other jets needed runway. Storms worsened. She might bleed out oil before clearance. She set hold pattern over coast, but engine temp climbed, pressure fell. Redline in 3 minutes. Drop up. If you've ever fought the system that should have saved you. Maeve calculated reserve landing strip on island forward outpost, 15 miles south. Rudimentary, short, wet. But if she didn't divert, engine. Seize, eject over ocean. She declared emergency on guard frequency. Tower responded with clipped acknowledgement, but no vectors. She chose self-vector, turning south, descending through rain. Island strip lights faint. Crosswind 22 knots, flaps, hydraulic patch uncertain. She decided flaps half risk. Gear extended loud clunk, but 3 greens. Oil pressure critical. 10 seconds to seize. She lined up runway, 160 knots, tailwind gust 10. Touchdown long. Brakes immediately. Chute deploy lever no chute installed on F-35A. She pumped brakes, but runway slick. Tires skidded. She kept center line, praying friction. End of pavement raced closer. She felt desolate but not enough. She pulled emergency arrestor hook, rarely used, hoping base installed cable. None. She prepared to punch out as weeds flashed. By, but at last second aircraft slowed, rolling onto grass, plowing mud geysers. Momentum died feet before rocky SEAWL. Silence, other than rain pattering on canopy. oil pressure 0. Engine whine wound down, coughing to stop, systems darkened. She sat in gloom, pulse loud as drums. She lifted visor, breath fogging. Through mist, runway lights flickered, power glitch. Thunder boomed, echoing her own heart. Inside helmet speakers, static parted to reveal Caleb's voice. Hushed. Maeve. Tower just got word. Those skiffs weren't pirates. They were decoys. Satellite feed shows something 10 times bigger under the surface. Dead ahead of Brightwater. Command says unknown submersible, possible carrier. Her blood iced. Rain thrummed. She looked seaward where darkness swallowed horizon. Caleb continued. We need the F-35 back in the air, but half the squadron's grounded. Yours is only frame that can rearm quick at Island Depot. But Command still wants you in cuffs. Maeve unbuckled, stood on wing amid steam and rain. Her plane lay battered but not broken. In distance, a dim maintenance shack glowed. She whispered, then we don't ask. Lightning ripped sky, illuminating a massive shadow surfacing far offshore, impossibly large. Like a floating fortress rising for breath. Maeve's next move was clear, but resources slim, allies few. Time none. The thunder died, leaving a single question pounding louder than the storm. Could one pilot, one crippled jet, stand between an unseen enemy and every life ashore? And at that exact moment, the island's generator failed. Lights blinked out, plunging Maeve into pitch black. Darkness pressed against Maeve Rilland like a second skin, thick and wet and humming with unseen voltage. She blinked once, twice, no difference. The world remained a shapeless void, punctured only by the hiss of cooling metal beneath her boots, and the still clicking hot engine behind her. The rain softened, drumming less like bullets and more like fingertips on a tin roof, leaving room for subtler sounds. Breakers rushing the seawall ahead, wind teasing loose cables, her own pulse. Thrumming stereophonic inside her helmet, she slid the visor up, pointless in the pitch, black but comforting, and steadied her breathing. The island had gone silent, every generator offline, every emergency beacon dead, as though some great hand had reached from the deeps and pinched the power lines shut. Her 35 crouched on torn turf, nose angled toward nothingness, canopy haloed by faint exhaust mist that caught the last ember glow from the burning slick a mile seaward. If you've ever found yourself alone in the dark, with only your resolve to keep the fear away. A figure emerged first, just a smudge against black, then legs, coat, and finally a face lit by the orange dot of a cigarette. Creased eyes under a salt-bleached ball cap. Chief Petty Officer Duncan Leary, depot master for this forgotten launch point, rumored to have retired thrice yet still clung to rusting keys none else wanted. Thought that was you up there, he rasped, exhaling ember-lit smoke. Whole damn archipelago saw the fireworks. Bass brass screaming bloody mutiny over the scramble net. You planning to finish the job or surrender for the court-martial carnival? Depends, she answered, stepping off the wing into ankle-deep mud. You still keep avgas and 25 mil belts stashed under the freezer like the rumors say? Leary chuckled, spat rainwater. Girl, I got enough non-existent munitions to restage Desert Storm. Question is, do you got time? A helicopter. Rotor thumped in the distance, rotors levering wind like giant oars. Probably Command's MPs inbound. She glanced skyward but saw only darker smears of cloud. 20 minutes, maybe less, before they drop a SWAT stack on this strip, she said. Leary thumbed his radio nose, squeal dead. He tossed it into a puddle. Powers cut island wide. Some EMP surged from offshore. They skimmed our high-tension feed before we knew what hit. Good news? Jammers that big hit friend and foe alike. Bad news? Our forklifts need juice. She held up a gloved finger. The F-35 has its own generator if I hotwire auxiliary. We'll run a cable haul for the ammo cart. Hydraulics and fuel we can handle manual. Lightning flickered far out, silhouetting the rising fortress again closer now. Angled prow surfacing like a leviathan's snout. Between flashes she almost doubted the shape, but sonar pings from her suit's compact chirped faintly acoustic. Reflections sharper than rock. No hallucination, they sprinted for the depot shack, splashing water that arced into brief spark static still dancing after the EMP. Inside, Leary fished lanterns off a dusty shelf old oil jobs, flame and glass. Orange glow painted racks of sealed crates stamped training use only. She cracked one. Tungsten-fed 25mm of PI rounds. Real, not dummy. Each tip dull like a habitually bitten fingernail. They worked by lantern heat. She stripped her sodden flight. Suit to waist, tying sleeves around hips. Inner layer hugged her slender frame in charcoal flex mesh. Grease blotched her collarbones where engine smoke had seeped earlier. She hefted ammo belts, elbows complaining, and started feeding the drum manually link by link, while Leary bled the hydraulic reservoir into a catch pail, swapped scorched fluid for fresh Mel 8328, two drawn from an ancient 5-gallon. Jerry Condot outside, rotor roar deepened, searchlight cones knifing through rain. Maeve's shoulders tightened. No time for thorough patch. Control surfaces would remain jittery ghosts. But a working gun, half a tank, and a mind wired for angles that might suffice. Drop 'em if you've ever rebuilt your fate with the wrong tools and too little light. Loads in, she said, slamming drum hatch. Missiles? Leary pushed a crate aside with his boot, revealing two AIM-9X tubes and, shockingly, a single JSM anti-ship missile Norwegian stock they'd been demoing months back. Jesus, Chief, those aren't even cleared for domestic training ranges. Exactly why nobody inventory tagged him after the demo team bailed. Figure you can make better use than collecting dust. They transferred the slender gray coffin onto a dolly, heaving with strained curses. Rain turned dolly wheels into sled runners. Maeve yanked the F-35's right weapons bay, open by bypass handle hydraulic hiss protest, but yielded. She slotted the JSM into place, engaged manual lock pins. Two sidewinders clipped to hardpoints under port wind root stealth profile blown. But subtlety seemed a quaint luxury now. Rotors now overhead, flashlight beams probed. Voices barked across bullhorn. Unauthorized personnel, stand down. Hands visible. Leary stood, backlit by lantern between Maeve and the MP's glare. He puffed once more, then flicked cigarette butt into the puddle. Just me, boys. Doing a little paperwork, he hollered. Maeve powered the jet's onboard APU. Faint whine grew. She slipped into cockpit, canopy still open to hear Leary's stalling. Control screens glowed pale teal, washing shadows across her face. MPs advanced three shapes aiming rifles. Leary raised hands. You lads sure that's necessary? Gunfire around these drums tends to be dramatic. Maeve keyed external PA. Stand clear of exhaust blast reigniting engine. She throttled APU to bleed air start. Compressor. Spool shrieked. Hot air rolled backward, churning puddles into steam. MPs stumbled, cursing, rifles half lowered. She slammed canopy down. Rubber seals kissed glass. Inside, storm roar muffled the drone hum. Checklists flickered engine health yellow, hydraulics marginal but greenish, ammunition full. Missiles latched. She eased throttle engine core lit. The MPs regained footing, now aiming again. One raised rifle toward her canopy. Maeve's eyes narrowed. She toggled taxi lights, blinding them. Advanced throttle to roll. Toward runway threshold, she carved muddy ruts until tarmac replaced turf. The helicopter pivoted overhead, searchlight pinning her. She spooled power, no time for pre-rotation. Check, gear struts creaked. She braked hard. Pivot turned 180 to line up southward. tail toward MPS. At 30% power, she released brakes. Jet lunged, heat bloom forcing soldiers to scatter. The helicopter swung, rotor wash buffeting. She pushed to military nose wheel lifting. 120 knots and climbing gear up. Flaps 10. The island runway short, but water at end of friend tonight. She rotated at 158 knots. Fuselage cleared treetops. Waves flashed silver underneath. Climb angle shallow to conserve engine strain. Gear locked. She toggled stealth back to passive where possible, though missile racks betrayed her on bigger radars. Not that giants below. Needed radar, they had EMP. Caleb's voice crackled faint, distance still jammed. Maeve, carrier sub X5 dimensions. Missile tubes. Need eyes. Static choked remainder. She banked west, then south, flanking the monstrous silhouette. Clouds shredded around leading edges of her wings. Raindrops jittered off canopy. At 7,000 feet she leveled. Thermal camera fed ghostly gradients. Sea glowed. But new shape brighter. A supercavitating hull breaching again. Enormous bay doors opened, spewing smaller fin-swimming drones. The thing looked like a stealth submarine and semi-submersible carrier mated, raising a flight deck only when ready to deploy. She mapped length approx 290 meters. Beam 60. Radar cross-section near zero waterline plating, angled inward. Conventional destroyer radars would see a hump at best. Worse, vertical tubes lining dorsal spine. Cruise missiles? Ballistic? Unknown. Distance. To Brightwater Base, 21 nautical miles. Those tubes likely within coastal artillery reach, minutes until strike. She armed JSM, low sea skimming profile would fit. But the sub-carrier's CIWS would tear a lone missile. She needed distraction. Sidewinders worthless on ships. Cannon perhaps could strafe sensors, but approach suicidal. She mulled. What if she used enemy's own M-trick? Her avionics kit included high-power microwave line for electronic attacks. Limited area, but sub's sensor mass exposed when surfaced. Microwaves could fry them, at least blind defense for JSM strike. She needed vantage. 1,000 feet off bow, stable hover, not possible in F-35, but she could perform a high alpha tow drag pass at low throttle. Vectoring short burst. Drop of, if you think sometimes the best offense is absolute disruption. She plotted, dive to 300 feet, run parallel, then sharp pull to 60-degree angle of attack stationary drift for 4 seconds, fire microwave, then punch burners and circle for missile attack. Engine alarms flickered, oil pressure still borderline. She acknowledged risk, remembered Dad's faith in improbable shots. She dove. Sea rose, black mirror slashed white by wind. Bow wave of subterranean beast foamed like poltergeist breath. She hugged 80 feet, flaps auto, intake gulping ocean thick air. Lightning arced overhead. Thunder disguised her engine. At 0.9 Mach, she roared past starboard side, then yanked stick back, speed brake popped. Belly vents open, jet bled speed violently. Her body slammed forward harness. Alpha climbed to 60 degrees, near stall. HUD screamed. She tapped microwave burst. Invisible cone lanced across open control tower of sub. Panels on enemy deck sparked, power conduits flashed blue. Rotating CIWS to red, froze mid-sweep. She forced. Nose down before stall 8 altitude, afterburner blasting water into steam cloud. She banked out low, straddling wavetops, heart-punching ribs. Warnings. Engine over temp. Hydraulic number 2 limp again. Ignore. She armed GSM, selected sea-skimming flight path. Set seeker to home on our signature of still glowing CIWS mount. She climbed to 500 feet, modest vertical to give missile clearance, then fired. The JSM streaked off. Dropped to 20 feet, weaving. She turned away, diving behind plume of sea spray. radar altimeter screaming 35 feet. She counted breath. 1, 2, 3, then horizon flashed white, muffled boom, roiling fireball taller than cruise ship. Deck plates peeled up, secondary detonations popped like popcorn. She banked, glimpsed the glorified submarine listing. Starboard, water pouring into bay. Cheers erupted inside her helmet, some channel broadcast of Falcons. Coast Guard, leery maybe, but victory cut short. A streak rose from subs' aft tubes, vertical launch missile escaping chaos. Smokeless. Quick, high acceleration ballistic with scramjet maybe. Maeve locked sensors. Trajectory aimed not at base, but civilian urban grid 40 miles inland population 250,000. Final insult. No interceptors within range. Aegis cruiser hours away. Falcons Winchester. Her 35 out of missiles. Cannon half empty, but ballistic missile ascending at Mach 5 beyond easy catch. She angled after it, fire in veins. In 20 seconds, missile reached stratosphere. Intercept window closing. Only possible shot. Hit booster phase with cannon before it arcs. But she needed altitude fast and vector perfect. Engine. Temp redlined. She shoved throttle full, nose up 60, acceleration slow under damage. G-forces crushed lungs. OHUD altitude climbed, 8K, 12K, 16K. Missile at 30,000 now. Gap widening. She toggled fuel emergency overburn dumping enriched mixture for 120% thrust. A test program never flown. Engine bellowed dragon roar. Temperature gauges rolled past limits, red turned purple. She felt seat vibrate with disintegration potential. 26K, 28,000. Missile still 20 seconds from stage separation. She cued gun, range closing, but still. 800 meters shy. Engine flameout warning. Compressor stall imminent. She risked last trick. Opened weapon bay doors mid-climb, using drag to pitch nose toward missile path, then cut throttle. Coast ballistic. Engine spooled down to idle. Tongue falling. Momentum carried her on intercept arc, range 400 meters. She squeezed trigger. 25 mil shells tore vacuum streaks. First burst missed by hair, second corrected. Tracer less, but she saw glint of impact sparks along missile skin. Third burst, ammo counter 8 rounds left. Sparks became bright flare, missile booster ruptured. Craft tumbled, warhead veered sideways, disintegrating under aerodynamic stress. Fragments flamed out like meteor shower, relief drowned senses. But engine now windmilling, fuel starvation from overburn cavitation. She tried restart, igniters clicked, no spool. Altitude 32K but falling. She trimmed nose down for glide. Search for recompression restart window at 20K, but fuel low, gauges flicker. Electrical bus under volt. Droppa, if you've ever felt. Triumph rip away the instant you touched it. As she glided powerless above storm ceiling, horizon bled pre-dawn silver. Lightning had retreated south. Below, enemy sub-carrier crackled with continuing fires, sinking slowly. Drones scattered dead in water. Coast Guard lights approached wreck. Good. But she still might not make shoreline. She ran quick calcs. Glide ratio about 10-1 in dead engine. Starting 30,000 feet gives 50 miles. Coast 18 to base, but storm headwinds cut effective. She might ditch 5 miles short. Ejection possible, but rescue uncertain in these seas. She remembered island runway behind 15 miles. Doable with tailwind? But island's generator still out. Runway lights dark. Visual approach at dawn gray, maybe if hydraulic controls hold. She banked toward island, wings stable but heavy. Every 2,000 feet she attempted restart. Compressor whined then stalled, ignition failing. Fuel pump numbers unstable, maybe. Vapor lock or filter clog from earlier debris. At 12,000 feet, dawn brightened. The island's shape emerged, runway a scar through jungle. Winds calm now, flight path good but high. She extended speed brake manually, airframe shook. Lost altitude. At 3,000 altitude, engine restart attempt. This time faint relight. Spooled to 25% idle but sputtered. Enough for minimal hydraulic pressure. She locked gear, flaps half. Oil pressure non-existent, but she didn't need power long just. To cushion flare. She aligned final. Touchdown point early to save roll distance. Runway still damp mud patches. She crossed threshold at 140 knots. Cut engine. It died with sigh. Gear kissed tarmac. Nose bounced once, then settled. She modulated. Brakes, praying tires hold. Aircraft slowed, rolled to stop 200 meters short of tree line. Silence again, canopy opened. Humid dawn air rushed in, smelling of smoke and wet earth. In skies behind, sun-tipped horizon, casting first pure light in hours. She climbed down wing. Knees shaking. At far end of runway, Leary's depot jeep sped toward her, sputtering but alive, generator evidently revived. He braked, leaned out. Commander broadcast across net, "They know what you did. Friggin' town wants to name streets after you." But the brass? They're still coming, Maeve. A tilt rotor roared overhead, fighters escorting. She saw base. Commander's insignia on tail, descending toward pad. A legion of MPs, faster than before, fully tasked to detain her. Leary popped open passenger door. "If you still aim to fly that crate again, we better push it into camo net and pray. Otherwise, you're trading wings for bars." Maeve stared at battered jet paint scorched, leading edge dented, engine likely totaled, but fuselage still defiant. And beyond tree line, she could almost sense new threats gathering. Victory never lasted. She turned to Leary. "We hide. We fix it. And when next crisis breaks, we fly." Rotor wash bent palm fronds, MPs fanned out. She and Leary rolled the jet toward jungle fringe, tires groaning, mud resisting. Voices shouted orders behind, dogs barking. She whispered, "Droppa, if you'll follow to whatever comes next." In the shade of towering mangroves, they dragged netting over fuselage just as the first MP rounded corner, rifle raised. Froze, confused by empty runway. Maeve crouched behind wing root, breath held, heart hammering. Rain began again softly, washing tire tracks. The MP signaled others, spreading search like ants. One wrong move, one snapped twig, and they'd find her. Ground jet, end everything. A twig snapped, cliffhanger silence. Silence shattered, the kind that snaps brittle air and races ahead of understanding. Maeve Rilland froze, half crouched behind the starboard main gear, her fingertips still pressed into slick mud. Somewhere to her left, beyond the camouflage mesh, a dog's muffled growl rolled low like distant thunder. The MP who'd cracked that twig dragged a breath through rain-damp lungs and muttered something she couldn't parse over the wind. Boots shuffled. Steel scraped against plastic. As another rifle came to the ready, a second twig broke. Maeve's muscles locked, not in fear but calculation. 20 meters of scrub separated her from Leary crouched under the nose, and 50 more lay between any of them and the mangrove line thick enough to swallow a stealth fighter. But the jet's broad tail and its fresh tire tracks might as well have been neon arrows once daylight truly ignited. Worse, the MPs had K9 support, one German Shepherd, and, by the scuffling, maybe a second handler just beyond line of sight. Droppa, if you've ever had to outthink someone smarter than the humans on their leash. Option A. Fight, she still wore a sidearm standard contractor issue, rarely loaded. Even if she dropped the lead soldiers clean, the rotors circling overhead would plaster the grove inside 15 seconds. Option B. Flight. The fighter was immobile without another hour's work and a full engine teardown. That left only option C. Vanish before anyone grasped what they'd seen. MPs, called out a tight military cadence. Sector Delta clear. A flashlight cone sliced across the tarpaulin, a meter above Maeve's head. She bit her cheek. The beam lingered on an innocuous bulge in the camo net nose of a stealthy engine intake, disguised by hasty palm fronds. She imagined the guards. Brow furling, suspicion blooming. A low whistle handler signaled the dog. Leary acted first. With the slow elegance of men who've waded waist-deep in high explosives their entire careers, he crunched a wrapper from his breast pocket and lobbed it 10 yards behind the MPs. It landed with a tinny clink ration can hitting rock. Shepard's ears pricked. The dog turned, nose high, uncertain. The handler followed flashlight. Just enough. Maeve slid backward under the wing root, mud smearing her flight suit knees. She felt along the gear strut until her fingers located the manual landing gear, pin half twisted out earlier. She yanked it free, then depressed the hydraulic bleed valve. With a sigh like deflating lungs, the strut settled 2 inches lower. The entire fuselage sank, the camo net draped slack. Larger bulge now looked like mere sagging cloth. She eased the pin back, barely finger tight. Illusion, not disappearance. Gad had taught her. Move the enemy's eyes 1 degree at a time. The handler cursed softly. Dog pulled toward Leary's decoy sound. Another guard called across comms. Nothing here, flush south. Footsteps receded. Maeve exhaled a breath she didn't remember holding. Rain intensified, drowning boot crunches, erasing tracks faster than brush could. 5 minutes later, rotor wash faded toward the base contingent. A single jeep remained on the strip, but its occupants now sat engine off, sheltered by windshield. Wipers scanning thermal scopes across open field. From their vantage, the mangrove fringe appeared empty wilderness. Perfect. Leary crawled toward Maeve, fleece-soaked. Took a year off my ticker, he wheezed. Trade you for my next court. Date, she answered, wiping grime from cheekbones. We need deeper cover. They'll bring drones next. Leary nodded. South side of islands got an old seaplane, ramp-built World War II, blasted by storms, never patched. Jungle swallowed half, but there's a concrete cavern where the Japanese hid float planes. Mouth big enough for an F-35 if we angle the wings. Show me. They spent 10 adrenaline-fueled minutes lashing vines to the landing gear torsion bar. Maeve climbed back in cockpit, slaved auxiliary motors to nosewheel tiny electric hum, dragging 2 tons through muck at a snail's pace. Leary and 2 volunteer depot hands guided tailskid along goat paths hacked by machete. Every meter, Maeve checked overhead for drones. Cloud cover remained thick, the universe assisting their illicit crawl. ####. ***, 43 minutes later Pacific dawn ***. The sun cracked horizon at last, smearing mauve and gold across ragged cumulus like a bloodied flag. Maeve's squinted lack of sleep stung but refused any pause. The seaplane cavern yawned before them, concrete arch half collapsed, vines woven through rebar like capillaries. Inside, water pooled where tides once lapped. Now a shallow sump flagged by lily pads. Roof height 12 meters. Depth maybe 60 enough. Leary guided tail. Maeve feathered motors, noselight probing gloom. When tires kissed standing water, ripples echoed like applause. A final tug. The jet disappeared into shadow. Leary's boys swung salvaged hangar doors across entrance, then piled brush. Outside, from air, only a mossy cliff scar remained. Maeve cut power. Dark silence fell, broken by frog croaks. She climbed on ladder, legs trembling. Nearly 24 hours since she first smelled hydraulic fire in Brightwater hangar. She still felt the hose nozzle ghost in her grip. Leary unslung a battered satchel. Coffee, he declared. The thermos tasted of rust and hope. Steam fogged eerie shafts of light leaking through bullet holes overhead. For a fragile 60 seconds, they rested. Asterisk drop up if you've ever clung to one small comfort while the universe recalibrated around you. Asterisk hash hash hash. Asterisk hash 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 hash. The bigger picture. Caleb's last garbled message rattled Maeve's memory. Asterisk carrier sub. Codes, strike inbound. Asterisk her daring hadn't ended threat merely decapitated a single snakehead. She needed intel, allies, leverage. She activated her portable TACpad, miraculously shielded from MP by the cockpit's Faraday cage. Satellite relay still jammed near Brightwater, but low-orbit microsats overhead bled intermittent packets. After 15 agonizing minutes, a data shard decrypted. Asterisk unidentified mobile launch platform sighted leaving Port Fan Rang longitude. Coordinates tracked east, vectoring toward container lanes. Another fragment. Asterisk calcine black surge. Associated with private mill contractor Atlas Valor. Asterisk Maeve felt her stomach pit. Atlas Valor had lobbied Congress for advanced drone contracts last year. When the Pentagon balked, the company pivoted to security consulting for regimes no one admitted supporting. She'd read rumors of black budget tech. They'd evidently graduated to covert maritime power projection. What's wrong? Leary asked. Atlas Valor is behind the subcarrier, she said. Which means deeper pockets than any pirate cartel. That missile I downed was a demonstration. They'll escalate. Leary scratched gray stubble. We'll need more then. Duct tape to swat the next fly. Maeve paced the cavern, mind-slicing options. Aircraft crippled, but fixable given days. They had hours, short offenses compromised. Command leadership paralyzed by politics. But she still owned intangible assets, her name now whispered as renegade hero among enlisted ranks. Falcon Squadron indebted, Coast Guard grateful. If she harnessed bottom-up movement quietly, she could build an unofficial task force. She needed a secure line. Leary angled chin at a rusted cable trunk half sunken in water. Old Coms line runs to weather station on West Ridge, still analog, buried deep. EMP didn't touch copper. Tap that and you can piggyback HF to whoever's listening. Maeve clapped his shoulder. I'll go. You patch the bird. We have to be sky-born before Atlas Valor reloads. Roger, but engine core's toast. Nearest F-135 spare sits at Brightwater hangar, she frowned. The base would be swarming. Yet infiltration beat waiting for miracle. We'll steal it. Leary grinned, showing nicotine stains. Knew I liked you. Asterisk hash 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 hash. Jungle Run sunlight filtered through tall pandanus and ironwood as Maeve jogged the overgrown path. TACpad strapped to left forearm. Sweat darkened her collar, mixing with residue of jet fuel and cordite. The island chirred. Alive kingfishers, cicadas. In normal times, she'd stop to marvel. Today, each twig snap mirrored earlier tension. Atop the ridge, derelict weather shack listed to one side. Paint flayed by cyclones. She pried the door, inhaled mold. Hand-cranked generator greeted her, still intact. Copper telegraph key sat on dusty bench, a relic. She smiled. Some antiques outlive empires. She knelt, clipped TACpad output to analog leads, keyed pulse sequences. After 2 false starts, static blossomed into voice Coast Guard search net. She piggybacked message bursts, coordinate of sub-carrier wreck, evidence of Atlas Valor involvement, missile launch logs, her visual telemetry. Then she switched to Falcon Squadron private loop. Caleb's surprised expletive greeted her. Holy Maeve. You ghost, where? Classified. She cut. Listen. Atlas Valor not done. They deployed mobile launcher disguised as container ship. Call sign Black Surge. Likely carrying hypersonic capable of outrunning. Aegis, we need F-35B vertical carriers off USS Veracity, plus your Falcons for air umbrella. I can get Falcons, Navy brass will stonewall. They still consider you rogue. Leak recordings of base commander ordering me detained while missile targeted civilians. PR nightmare will cage them. Caleb hesitated. You have that? The tower. Logs auto-mirrored to my TACpad when I hacked comms for microwave burst. Already zipped, Caleb exhaled. Damn, upload. She did. Seconds later he whistled. Consider Falcons en route to your island. What about you? Stealing replacement engine. Need distraction. I'll stage urgent maintenance recall. For Brightwater's stock, when gate opens you slide in. Make it messy. Always. Asterisk ####### at Brightwater. Mid-morning heat shimmered above roads as Maeve, dressed in borrowed coveralls and sporting fake corporal stripes, drove a battered depot truck down Coastal Highway. Leary rode shotgun, mustache trimmed. ID badge forged, rolling a wrench between calloused fingers. Brightwater's perimeter glinted ahead, fencing topped with concertina. An argument at the security, post-Falcon ground crews, protesting sudden requisition orders for all spare power plant modules. Guards shouted, papers waved. Caleb's handiwork, Maeve eased into queue. The MP from last night paced the line, half asleep. Cloud of diesel smoke master when he peered into cabin. She flashed clipboard, muttered about compressor filters. He waved them through dot inside, chaos. Racking cranes hoisting crates. Logistics officers yelling about mismatched labels. Maeve parked by the storage pier, hopped out, and navigated forklift rows with practiced anonymity. Industrial ballet was her habitat. She located crate F-135, Commod 2 exact serial, matching her airframe. 3,800 pounds, 6 feet long. She jimmied datapad, marking the unit for emergency dispatch to USS Veracity. Then she signed with the depot commander's initials copied from a memo pinned to bulletin board. Leary rolled forklift, forks rattling. He speared the crate. They trundled toward exit. A lieutenant flagged them, brown knit. Maeve's pulse jumped. Let's see the manifest, he demanded. Maeve passed clipboard, smiled bored. He scanned pages. Wise Brigadier Torrance's signature scribbled. He's still airborne. Digital pen glitch, she improvised. Used auto-pop template, Lieutenant scratched chin. Never seen that gasp in stroke? Leary leaned. Out forklift window, pointing behind Lieutenant. Sir, is that crate supposed to tilt like that? Lieutenant spun. Noting nothing wrong, he pivoted back but forklift already rolling. Maeve power walked, heart pounding. Security gate raised. Outside world beckoned. Alarm did not sound. 20 minutes later, the truck barreled down jungle road to hidden cavern. Falcons soared overhead flybys arranged by Caleb. Their sonic booms drowned engine rumble of her truck. Inside cave. Depot hands already stripped dead core. Hoist chains. Clinked. Replacement slid into fuselage rails like final puzzle piece. Hydraulics pumped manually until latches clamped. Leary wiped brow. Give her whirl. Maeve climbed cockpit. Initiated engine self-test. New turbine wind silky. All. Gauges green. She grinned feral. 80%. I'm 2 we scrounged from Falcon wreck. And I found a pair of Israeli Python 5 South in Embassy demo crate. Exotic. They'll love customs forms. Asterisk ######## uninvited guests come crackled. Black Surge just activated. Intel satellite shows container ship disguised. But launching boost vehicles in 1 hour from coordinate grid Aleph. USS Veracity still hours out. We're first line. Maeve checked distance. 90 nautical miles northeast. Falcons 5 strong, plus her F-35, made 6 birds against. Unknown salvo. But Black Surge's deck could host mobile tells under cargo facade, sensors limited. Surprised their ally. She taxied 35 out of cave ramp. Dirt ramp collapsed decades ago. But with new core throbbing, thrust vector lifted nose easily over. Lip, she aligned along distant beach stretch. Improvised runway. Packed coral sand at low tide, 1.7 kilometers. Enough, trees bent as she spooled engine. Leary saluted. She held visor 2 fingers, then smashed throttle. Sand blasted backward in geysers. Jet rocketed down beach, lifted before waterline. Soared over turquoise water glinting midday sun. Drop a, if you've ever launched dreams. Where runways didn't exist. Asterisk, asterisk, battle. Over Black Surge, asterisk. 30 minutes flight. Maeve met Falcons at stack altitude, 20,000 feet. Caleb formed on her wingtip, voice warm. Good to see your transponder legit again. Borrowed legitimacy. They descended through cloud deck, arming radars under LPI mode. Container ship emerged, nondescript tan Maerskal, rows of steel boxes. But IR revealed heat plumes through. Sides hidden exhaust from vertical tubes. Maeve's TACPAD flag 8 launcher canisters midship, lids open. Ramjet, boost missile prepping. No time, she said. We strike first. She armed AMRA MIS, targeted 2 canisters. Falcons. Locked rest. They fired simultaneous volley. White pops trailed contrails, diving near vertical. Ship's deck erupted in smoke. But at least 3 missiles launched anyway, claws of flame punching sky. Maeve banked hard, chasing ascending plumes. Python 5 seekers excelled at high-off bore sight. She selected one, tone steady, fired. The missile corkscrewed, gored booster at Mach 3, detonating mid-air. Sequels still rose. Caleb splashed second using AIM 120, but third missile slipped through, accelerating supersonic. Maeve's blood iced. Course pointed directly toward Brightwater City again. Fuel stayed good, but her F-35 needed unbroken climb and perfect shot. Missile Mach 5 already, climbing. Falcon 4 attempted intercept, missed his weapon outrange short. Maeve engaged afterburner, engine singing new core's vigor. She climbed supersonic, closer each heartbeat. But missile update thrusted. Again, leaving Chemstreak scramjet engaged. Mach 7. Her internal weapon bays now empty. Only remaining Python 5, slower but agile. She closed to 10 kilometers, within kinematic of head-on. She pitched high, cued seeker infrared. Missile hot plume glared bright. She fired. Python lunged, but high closing speed left narrow lead. Guidance curving. Missile required final gut pull her Python barely rated. OHUD predicted 30% hit probability. Not enough. She toggled microwave emitter again. Tuned to scramjet control band. Fired burst. If signal corrupted combustor feed, missile might flame out. Data uncertain. She tried. Missile telemetry blinked erratic. On TACPAD, fire trail sputtered. It slowed to Mach 5. Python gaining. At 500 meters Python struck, warhead blossomed. Debris ignited into meteor shower. Cheers from Falcons, but Maeve caught new contact. Another launch. From container ship hidden stern bay. This one ballistic glide vehicle, nose slender, unstoppable once boost done. She was out of missiles. Falcons 2, only gun remained. But BGV flight path soared to 60,000 feet, then dive. She could intercept booster during first 90 seconds, if reachable. Fuel margin thin after burn, but she pushed. Engine core at limit, but brand new, could handle. She dove to sea level to shorten range, then pitched skyward vertical climb, 9G sustained. Vision grade. She grunted, tightened abs, blood pounding. Boost rocket 40 kilometers ahead, 20 kilometers altitude, roaring. She targeted with gun. Range still 4,000 meters vertical difference. She glimpsed option. Calibrate gun for high ballistic arc. Shoot burst ahead. Let gravity drop shells into booster path. She set depression angle, computed in helmet. Dad's long-range sniper lessons repurposed. Wind factor, earth rotation. Trivial at altitude. She fired 40-round burst. Shells arced, invisible. HUD lag impossible to verify, but seconds later booster casing exploded, shattering tail. BGV tumbled, self-destruct failsafe triggered, high-altitude burst harmless. Debris, Maeve's jet shuddered. Gun jammed, last rounds expended. She nosed down. Black spots dancing eyes. Oxygen flow irregular. Life support warning. She leveled at 25,000, regained composure. Below, black surge burned. Secondary blasts roaring as hidden fuel tanks ignited. Falcons circled like guardian hawks. Coast Guard cutters CIWS finished cripples. Victory. Again. But radio crackled new urgency. Skywatch to all allied call signs. Multiple fast movers inbound from east, squawk unknown. 60 miles closure. Estimate 12 5th Gen fighters. Atlas Valor PMC Air Wing. Brace for dogfight. Maeve. Glanced ammo empty. Missiles spent. Fuel yellow. Falcons similar, yet retreat impossible. If enemy seized air, rescue ships vulnerable, city defenseless. Only hope, outmaneuver. Stall fight until Navy reinforcements. She toggled link to Caleb. We kite them into storm cell south, slow them, he acknowledged. Falcons formed wedge on Maeve 6. Storm cell large, lightning saturating, unknown. Fighters appeared on radar signature like export Su-57 variant. They split pack, high-low pincer. Maeve throttled to appear weak, nose dipping. She crossed storm boundary. Turbulence hammered wings. Enemy followed. She rolled, letting wind shear toss her like leaf. Engine at idle, stealth profile minimal. Su-57 radars struggled in clutter. Falcons executed feints, dragging opponents deeper. Lightning strobed one Su caught direct strike. Electronics frying fell flaming. Two others collided amid confusion. Now 9, Maeve toggled ECM to amplify. Lightning noise, ghosting dozens of false tracks. Enemy missiles wasted on phantoms, but her jet icing. Engine compressors ingesting hail. She cut anti-ice faulty. Manual override needed. She descended to warmer layer. 3 Su-57s latched onto her tail. No weapons to deter, she plotted. Insane move. Use vector thrust to execute culbut inside storm downdraft stall loop, causing overshoot. Enemy may lose lock, maybe crash. She pulled, engine vectored, jet flipped backward, -G. Blood rushed head. Frost peeled from canopy. First Su-57 overshot. Second tried replicate, lost control, spiraled into cloud. Third maintained. Maeve. Rolled scissors but hydraulics limit. Su latched guns, tracers ripping air. She dove, lightning lit scene. She skimmed ocean, spray hammering belly. Su fired missile. She had no flares. But missile seeker heat and radar. She ducked behind flaming wreck of black surge, still drifting. Missile acquired ship heat, exploded, sending fire column sky high, knocking Su-57 with blast wave. Pilot. Ejected. Enemy count 6 now. Falcons dropped 2 more with last aim 9 spares. 4 remained, but bigger problem fuel for all friendlies dwindling. Then distant roaring far 35 billions from USS Veracity punched through cloud. 8 strong missiles. Fresh. Atlas Valor pilots bugged out east, afterburners painting scars in sky. Cheers flood comes. Maeve a loud grin, then engine coughed warning. Fuel critical. She plotted vector to Veracity, nearest deck 80 miles. Enough? Maybe with lean cruise. But hydraulic pump number 2 failed. Backup drew extra power. Fuel flow climbed. She bled altitude, riding glide. Falcons escorted, also fuel low. Midway, her engine sputtered, flamed out. She glided, silent, sea below glittering midday. Veracity deck loomed small speck. She calculated, will fall short 5 miles. Caleb radioed choppers. Too slow, Maeve considered ditch. Then she spotted refueling drogue from KK-130 tanker, vectored by Navy hovering 6 miles ahead, 10,000 feet. Final lifesaver. But tanker speed 220 knots. She 180 in glide. She needed energy. She nosed down to gain 240, trading altitude. At 2,000 feet she intercepted drogue, alone. Basket wobbled in air. She extended probe F-35 a lax probe. Only BC. Despair clutched. Yet tanker also trailed emergency gravity drop fuel bladder on cable helicopter refuel. If she snagged cable with nose pedo. Insane. She lined up cable whipping. At 300 feet a GL. She speared cable with canopy frame. Bladder. Swung, collided starboard intake, ruptured. Dumping JP-8 over fuselage and into open-air refuel valve, maintenance port she'd left unbolted. Some fuel reached tanks as pressure sensors spiked. Engine relight, cough, catch. She jettisoned. Cable. Flame tongues momentarily as JP-8 ignited on skin, then snuffed by velocity. Engine stable. She thanked unknown tanker crew. Minutes later she trapped aboard Veracity. Arrestor hook slammed, rolling to halt. Emergency crews foamed minor skin fires. Canopy popped. Maeve staggered to deck, boots kissing non-skid. Sailors cheered, but within. Cheers. A stern admiral strode forth. Arms crossed. Captain Rilland, correction. Civilian Rilland, you have quite the explanation ahead. Maeve straightened. Permission to debrief, sir. Threat suppressed. Evidence transmitted. I'll accept consequences after we ensure they can't strike again. Admiral's gaze cooled. Debrief now. Consequences later. He extended hand. She shook. ###. Asterisk hours passed in flag plotting room. Intel poured. Atlas Valor cells identified worldwide. Governments leaning on sanctions. Maeve's logs pivotal. She grudgingly accepted temporary field commission as major for chain of command clarity. Effective retroactive to first scramble. Yet news arrived. A second Black Surge class sub-carrier went dark from satellite 200 miles south. Likely. Prepping for revenge strike. Rest? Caleb asked. Maeve shook head. Later. She stepped onto flight deck dusk, her battered jet already towed for deep repair, and surveyed. Horizon where new thunderheads brewed. She smiled thinly. On cue. Intercom barked deck alert. All pilots ready 5, threat grid update. Maeve turned, adrenaline blooming, a new ***, a new storm. A new sky to claim. And she would be there, uninvited but unstoppable. The deck klaxon wailed. Red beacon spinning. A hatch slammed behind her. She pivoted. Atlas Valor commandos breaching. The carrier deck with grappling launchers. Shadows cresting rail. Gunfire erupted. Maeve reached for her sidearm holster empty. Drop a, if you're still with her. This isn't over yet. The nearest commando leveled suppressed SMG, fade to black. Lights slammed back as muzzle flashes stitched the flight deck dusk, ripping Maeve's shadow free of her body and hurling it across the non-skid. The suppressed MG cracked again. She dove behind a tie-down block, Kevlar pads sparking wear. Ricochet found steel. Boots pounded, alarms wailed, and the crisp sea wind turned instantly acrid with cordite. Atlas Valor had boarded the Veracity less than 90 seconds after the first grappling hook thudded home. Now platoons of matte black. Operators fanned across the carrier like an oil spill of intent. Each man a dark vector pointed straight at chaos. Maeve counted at least 2 squads, maybe 3 too many for a simple hit and run. They meant to cripple the ship outright. She peered around cover, clocking positions. 2 gunners by the port catapult tractor, 1 marksman prone atop of fuel. Pod, another pair advancing near the parked E-2C Hawkeye. Beyond them, a third fire team sprinted toward the island's superstructure, laser sights flicking. Sailors fought back with sidearms and emergency rifles, but the boarder's night vision optics devoured the twilight. If you've ever felt the sudden heat of a fight flare up from nowhere, Maeve's fingers brushed empty holster. Again, Leary still had her pistol for deck work. Improvisation became oxygen. 10 feet away, a deck chock, a squat iron wedge painted yellow, offered heft. She rested it up, inhaled salt-sting air, and hurled it discus style into the fuel pod. Metal clanged. The marksman flinched, barrel spinning. His muzzle flash-stitched harmless sparks. That heartbeat let Petty Officer Monroe fiery-haired. And built like a brick bulkhead pop from behind a tractor and pegged the marksman square in vest. Maeve surged out, scooping the fallen SMG before it cooled, then rolled under the wing of a stowed FSO-18. 2 Atlas Valor operators fired, rounds pinging flaps inches overhead. She returned a short burst, feet kicking deck grime as she slid. Behind landing gear, lightning-cracked overhead natural storm trailing them had arrived. Rain exploded across steel, steam rising where expended casings sizzled. It doused visibility just enough. Maeve toggled the SMG's infrared illuminator to flood, sweeping until silhouettes glowed ghostlier than the spray. She spotted the pair repositioning behind ordnance crates, breath clouds lit by her beam. 2 taps center mass and helmet dropped. If you've ever found refuge in the very storm that threatened to drown you. The island klaxon changed pitch. General quarters. Repel boarders. Watertight doors slammed, internal Marines deploying. But on deck, discipline was ragged, crews scattered, ammunition low. Maeve keyed her borrowed headset, patching into the flight deck loop. This is Rillandon. Foxtrot 2 commandeered SMG. Boarders concentrated port forward. Estimate 20+ with breaching charges. A voice she recognized, Exo Graves, answered through static. We're locking elevators, but they've placed demo near Cat. Launch gear. Stop them at all costs. She tucked SMG close, sprinted between parked Seahawks. Rain-blurred stripes. Lightning strobe-lit shapes. One operator stooped over the steam catapult slit, planting thermite canisters. Maeve slid to a knee-15. Yards away, sighted. Trigger squeeze nothing, mag empty. She cursed through gun-like spear. It smacked the man's helmet. He spun, surprised. She tackled, momentum skidding both across deck. Hands scrabbled. She drove elbow under chin guard, felt cartilage pop. He went limp. She ripped thermite igniter lanyard free, flung canisters overboard. Orange arcs vanished into black waves, shouts behind another squad closing. She rolled, grabbing the downed. Operator's sidearm, a compact 9mm suppressed. She fired 2 rounds, dropping point man, then scrambled toward a hose reel. A concussion grenade bounced due. She dove behind an F-35's landing gear strut. Blast punched ear canals, rattled. Metal. Debris ricocheted when ears cleared. She heard rotors. The ship's own MA-6 OS gunship had launched from starboard bay. Miniguns spitting across deck, forcing boarders to ground. Maeve used covering fire to sprint to the weapons elevator, where 2 sailors fought to keep hatch secure. She flashed badge newly minted major, but still awkward helped, spin dogging wheel tight. Explosions boomed port side. She glimpsed collateral flames licking a parked fuel truck. Water and JP5 ran rivers. Deck crews triggered AFFF. White foam gushed, swirling around ankles, making footing treacherous. The operator nearest fuel truck tossed smoke grenade, blanketing area. The MS-60's gunfire paused. Crew couldn't ID targets. Through gray haze, Maeve saw boarders slip toward island once more. She cursed knew their aim, the CIC nerve center. Lose that, the veracity would be blind, deaf. and soon dead. Hash 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 hash. Through the island she charged stairwell with 3 Marines just deployed topside. The corridor smelled of ozone and engine oil. They met resistance at frame 45. 2 operators braced behind a forklift, night vision still effective in interior gloom. Marine shotgun blasts chipped bulkheads. Operators returned with suppressed SBRs, rounds slapping wall inches from Maeve's ear. She spotted overhead fire suppression nozzle. A quick shot shattered glass bulb. Deluge triggered, dumping seawater and halon vapor. Night vision lenses. Fogged, operators glanced instinctively to wipe. Marines advanced, double-tapped both. Maeve pushed deeper. Mind reciting deck schematics, the CIC sat 3 levels down, port midships. She demanded status via COMS-X, or reported assault team. Already at outer hatch. Maeve and Marines raced through ladder wells, boots clanging. Outside CIC passageway, chaos. 2 wounded sailors, blood bright. Smoke curling from a breaching charge partly detonated, but failed to shear hinges. An operator with laptop knelt, trying. Second remote detonator. Maeve fired, clipped his shoulder. Laptop clattered. He rolled behind corner, returning fire. Marine corporal lobbed flashbang. Boom hallway, lit white. Maeve dashed, slid, tackled operator before he regained rifle. Knee to diaphragm. Pistol to temple. He spat blood, glared. She needed code. Override. For your explosive, she snarled. He smiled crimson. Too late. Remote beep sounded. Maeve yanked him up, body shielding as blast ripped hinges. They flew, door crumpled. She slammed into bulkhead, pain blooming ribs. The operator took brunt, slumped dead. Inside CIC, sailors recoiled, consoles sparking. Atlas. Valor team leader stepped through ruptured doorway. Bullpup rifle raised. Maeve, dazed, braced to engage, but corporal beat her, racking shotgun-blasted leader off feet. Marines swarmed, finishing remaining intruders. CIC sealed spare hatch .X. O'Graves clasped Maeve's shoulder. On deck status? Catapults. Safe for now, but flight ops halted. We need birds airborne before next wave. Graves nodded grim. Bridge lost primary turbines. Engineering tries reboot. If we can't maneuver, we're sitting duck. Maeve's mind sprinted. The Veracity still carried her battered F-35, but missing ammo. Plus other carrier F-35 BS. Catapults offline anyway. STOVL jets could vertical off deck. She had plan. But boarders not finished. Sentry reported enemy fast boat approaching starboard quarter commando exfil attempt or reinforcements. Give me deck loudspeaker, Maeve said. She broadcast, all pilot qualified personnel, muster at ready 5. We're launching air cover using VTOL. She dashed topside again, lungs burning. Rain had eased, deck slick. Falcon's F-16s obviously conventional, stuck ashore. Only F-35BS and her F-35 converted to ski jump test mods could fly. She commandeered ground crew loading sidewinders onto a Bravo. While they chunked lugs, she sprinted to her old jet, still foam-soaked. Engine panel off. Maintenance rating borderline, but start able. She keyed Caleb. Need 1 Bravo loaded. With JDAMs for fast boat threat. I'll escort. On it, he answered. Hash 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 hash. Asterisk hash hash hash. The vertical dance exhaust columns shimmered as 4 for 35 Bias lined at deck edge. Vectored nozzles swiveling downward. Maeve taxied her Alpha to starboard elevator still functional, using ski jump ramp at bow for short take. Her repaired engine roared with tempered eagerness. Drop of, if you've ever leapt from confinement, straight into another battle. Without catching breath, on takeoff roll, she rotated early, flaps to stole extension, clearing bow by yards. 4 Bravos popped vertical and followed, gear tucking. They climbed through scattered clouds. Radars scanning for inbound hostile air rumored earlier. Sea below boiled white where fast boat dashed Atlas Valor extraction craft 40 knots. Remote turret tracking the carrier. Caleb's Bravo rolled. Inverted, released two 500-pound JDAMs. Bombs splashed, homed by laser, plumes engulfed boat. Debris cartwheeled, but radio crackled emergent. Skies inbound again combined wing of Su-35s and drone escorts. Vector 090 at Angels 15-20 miles. Maves HUD populated 8 Su-35s, maybe stolen Russian stock. Plus 12 Delta wing drones cheap but missile heavy. Carrier still limping. They must hold air corridor. Ammo/armament check. Mave down to cannon only, but deck crew had slapped 2 spare Python 5 South on inner pylons amid chaos. Better than nothing. Caleb's Bravo carried 4 AMR AMIs plus cannon. They climbed sunward to advantage. Mave briefed. Drones first soften escorts, then merge with flankers. Use 35 stealth in cloud sun glare. The fight exploded bright and quick. Bravos launched AMR AMIs in ripple. Guided by data link, drones blew like popcorn. But some launched dogfight missiles, forcing evasions. Mave locked Python on heat plume, fired, scrapping one drone that bled flame. She rolled, cannon stitched second, debris peppering canopy. Su-35 splitty fies. One dived on Mave. She pitched 9G climbing corkscrew, decoyed missile with flare dump. Python 5 Seeker captured tail heat of Su that overshot. She cued, fired. Second Python backward over shoulder low shot. The missile arced. Homed, flanker erupted. Enemy numbers still dangerous. Caleb splashed 2 with AMRAAM, but was chased by wingmen. Mave rolled in, cannon burst severing wing route of aggressor. Fuel leak blossomed into fireball, yet missiles expended. 3 flankers remained. They regrouped, launched radar-guided slammers. Bravos depleted chaff, jinked, but one took wingtip graze, pilot ejected. Now 5 friendlies versus 3 enemies, but fuel burning fast. Mave toggled microwave emitter again last. Resort pulsed at enemy radars. It fuzzed their seekers. 2 missiles lost lock, flew wild. She dove across wake turbulence. Caleb took position, gunned another flanker at close range. Remaining 2 flankers bugged east, but one pitched back, suicide closing on carrier low level. Mave and Caleb angled pursuit, but too far, low fuel. Carrier still regaining steerage. CIWS, offline after border sabotage. It would be sitting duck for missile salvo. Mave transmitted to deck. Brace for incoming. She dove to sea level, afterburner lighting. Engine warnings beep, fuel bingo. She cut, glided wave skimming, using stealth until within 2 miles of flankers 6, nose 20 millimeters linked. She squeezed 14-round burst. Rounds punched tailpipe. Flanker vapor trailed, pilot ejected, missile still on rail. They both splashed. Her fuel gauge blinked red, 2%. She climbed toward carrier circuit, praying deck clear. But sabotage still threatened. Fire plumes marked starboard side. She requested straight-in emergency vertical landing. Deck controller. Voice strained. Alpha 17LZ green but unstable crosswind. Monsoonal gust. She lined vertical approach, nozzle 90, opened lift fan door, gear down. Jet descended, sea spray swirling. Gust shoved starboard. She corrected with yaw, but hydraulic servo screened. Altimeter called 20 feet. She eased. Descent, left gear touched, platform skidded due rudder. She popped nozzle 2 degrees to cushion. Gear settled, jet rocked, then stilled. Engine spooled to idle. On deck she opened canopy. Rain hit face like absolution. Crew signaled shutdown. She pulled ladder, hopped to deck, legs wobbly but firm. But grid a left threat not fully over. Reports of missile submunitions from earlier. Black surge debris drifting toward coastline, maybe booby traps. Also Atlas Valor net chatter that a rogue general inside friendly command had green-lit Operation Hailstorm, a Trojan. Update inside coastal defense. Drone next to flip them rogue at midnight. It was 2,100 hours. Maeve debrief in ready room. Exo Graves summarizing. Sabotage contained, turbines 90%, but CIC down sensors until fiber resplice. Atlas Valor air threat neutralized for now. Yet digital warfare front loomed. Caleb slammed fist on table. We can't fight code with cannon, Maeve thought. Maybe we can. The F-35's U-suite could beam micro-patched a drone net, but she needed root credential. Atlas Valor stored keys aboard their deep-sea command buoy, network interlinked. Submersible nodes unreachable by surface assets, except by stealth sub or so-called amphibious interface. She glimpsed blueprint of her own stealth fighter. Literal adaptation kit included modular sonar pod rarely used. A plan sparked. Mount pod dive tow behind minuscule unpowered glider. Parachute drop from altitude near buoy cluster, then hack via tether. Insane, untested. Graves rubbed temples. We've 12 hours. Hack or we watch our own coastal drones strafe civilians. Maeve met Caleb's eyes. Get my jet seaworthy for aerial drop and ocean recovery in 6. You'll drown inside cockpit. I'll eject at 200 knots, skin shoot into water, craft auto land on remote. I'll swim to buoy, jack in. Atlas Valor patrol UUV's guard site. Then I'll bring bigger sharks, Graves exhaled. There's also a weather system. Brewing Typhoon Kali, tracking same area. All the better to hide me. Asterisk ### for the impossible. 0300 Hangar Bay. Maintenance crews stripped her F-35, bolted sonar pod under centerline, sealed avionics for salt immersion, attached deployable flotation balloons for retrieval. Leary arrived via sea boat, bringing his signature grin and a vacuum-sealed pistol, her holster filled again. If you've ever geared up for a mission no simulation dared even model. Caleb handed her small waterproof satchel. Inside, skeleton key to drone OSIF you plug in. She zipped it, stowed inside flight vest with a single cylinder of compressed tri-mix for 15 minutes breath underwater thin. Margin, Typhoon's first gusts rattled deck as dawn bled. Red, ominous dot. She climbed ladder, strapped into cockpit, sealed suit to watertight gasket. Flight plan. Catapult not needed. She'd vertical take, ascend to 35,000 feet. Cut engine near buoy coordinate. Glide ballistic, then remote autopilot carry. Jet to pre-programmed circle hold while she dropped. Sergeant ground crew signaled ready. Maeve closed canopy, engine roared. She rose, gear tucked. Deck swiveled below. Seas churned. Caleb on radio. All of us back here, waiting on your green light. She smiled thin. Save a mug of that rust coffee. She climbed through roiling. Charcoal clouds, lightning flicking violet. At apex, horizon curve hugged cosmos. She turned southeast, aligning inertial nav to buoy chain grid. She toggled autopilot remote package, entered handshake codes, then unlocked seat separation pyro. Below lay slate ocean, streaked white by wave crests like claw marks. She descended to 220 knots, altitude 9,000 feet. Sonar pod ejected drop sled automatically. A chew deep deploy. She inhaled, punched seat eject. Canopy flew, rocket pack blasted, wind tore roarously. Parachute blossomed black against angry gray. She angled lines to steer towards splash of pod below. Mid-descent. Something hissed sharp crack overhead. Parachute panel tore pushed beyond spec by typhoon shear. Maeve plummeted faster, water closing too quick. She toggled reserve chute fired, blossomed, jerked spine. Pain flared. She hit water hard, engulfed. Suit valves equalized. She surfaced, gasping, scanning. Sonar pod bobbed 30 meters away, flashing locator LED. She swam, waves towering. Rain needled visor. She reached pod, clipped harness. Opened. Hatch, electronics dry. She unfolded mini tether sled, toggled nav. Sonar pinned buoy node 400 meters east, depth 5. Good, but sonar also pinned moving contact STU 3. UUV drones vectoring to intercept. Teeth-shaped icons advanced. Atlas Valor expected guests. She grabbed thruster sticks, angled pod into dive. Darkness swallowed world. Only HUD emerald arcs. At 10 meters depth, she engaged quiet mode. Thrusters faint. UUV sonar spikes flared close torpedo-sized drones armed with nets or explosives. She killed thrusters, drifted. Heart hammered. She recalled Dad's hunting stories. Freeze, let prey pass. One UUV slid overhead, prop wash ruffling suit. It continued. She exhaled bubble trickle. Drop it if you've ever felt predators glide. So near you could count the seconds between heartbeats. She resumed, reached buoy, anchor cable, clamped. Wired link into port via fiber spool. Tack pad booted sub-mode. Code handshake, succeeded. Drone fleet OS tree displayed. She uploaded Caleb's skeleton key. Prepping kill switch for midnight trigger. Progress bar crawled 1%, 3%. Typhoon currents buffeted. Pulling cable taut. Above, lightning flicker turned water to strobe. At 57%, sonar icons rushed back UUVs converging. They'd sniffed odd cable vortex. She typed override to repurpose sonar pod thrusters as active jammer. Blasting frequency bursts. UUV guidance loops overloaded, vectored wrong. But more inbound. Progress 81%. Her tri-mix tank dwindled. CO2 alarms blinked. 90%, 95. Upload complete green. She pulled plug, keyed kill, switch test on single local drone response code. Null, success. She detached. Ascent bag inflated, carrying her toward surface as UUV swarms tangled below. She breached into Hellscape Typhoon eye wall, collapsed early. Waves 20 foot, rain horizontal. She triggered beacon for veracity hello. But comes jammed I storm dot. She inflated survival raft, clambered, clutching satchel. Lightning revealed dorsal fin shapes sharks or debris. She drew pistol, but waves. Hid. Hours passed of rolling torment. Finally chop of rotor. Seahawk appeared, searchlight slicing. She fired flare. Hello banked. Rescue diver dropped, hauled her up. Inside cabin, medics wrapped blanket, strapped 4. But as they lifted, she looked down. A UUV surfaced, silent, drifting lead flashing at les blue. Self-destruct perhaps? Before explosion, it broadcast narrowband. Her tack pad still unpicked. Phrase, see you at dawn, a V, she frowned. Dawn only pre-hours away. Asterisk ###, dawn of reckoning back aboard Veracity. 0500. CIC now online. Kill switch coded into coastal drone net. Midnight passed, they remained loyal. Shears erupted. Admiral praised Maeve on open channel. Yet she couldn't shake UUV's message. Satellite feed revealed second black surge sub-carrier they'd hunted earlier. Now surfaced halfway between carrier and mainland, wildly off, predicted course scuttled by unknown explosion. Possibly. Rival faction? Something felt off. Caleb joined her at rail as sun rimmed horizon crimson. Hell of a night. World owes you. She sipped Coffee Leary's blend and nodded. Atlas Valor faints, then telegraphs countdown. Means distraction. What's real target? Maeve stared east over landmass where fuel depots, data centers, communication arrays dotted coastline. If they'd failed to hijack drones, Maybe they planned to frame Maeve or military by releasing evidence of freelance vigilante sabotage. She pondered. CIC alarm blared, different timbre, strategic alert. Graves sprinted. Ballistic launches detected 6 objects from unknown mobile barge near foreign waters. High arch MIRV profile, guidance shifting mid-course looks like decoys aside true payload. Maeve's stomach dropped. Not nukes, kinetic rods. EMP warheads? She glanced at trajectory overlay. They'd re-enter atmosphere right over Brightwater's entire electrical grid at 08:003 hours. USS Veracity interceptors limited. Patriot batteries ashore might catch some, but not all. Only hypersonic intercept platform the theater possessed sat inside Maeve's F-35 with scramjet test. Module still stowed. Engine battered, but maybe attached scramjet booster sleeve experimental. Kit on board for Navy trials. It could sling her jet to Mach 6 in thin stratosphere, giving chance to chase warheads. She hurried to hangar. Engineers already uncrating booster sleeve. Admiral met her. You're not cleared to test that module. She eyed warhead arcs. No time for bureaucracy. He scowled, then stepped aside. Then Godspeed, Major. Asterisk ####. Scramjet preparation crew bolted sleeve behind exhaust. Fuel fed via independent tank. Burn window 90 seconds. Enough to reach 100,000 feet and Mach 5. Airframe might melt. Maeve shrugged into fresh pressure suit, heart surprisingly calm. Caleb arrived with helmet. Going with you. No twin seat. Then I'm wingman in Bravo with extended tanks. She nodded. Deck crews cleared path. Typhoon tailwinds had spun north, leaving eerie stillness. Rising sun painted decks copper. Maeve climbed cockpit. Systems tried to protest at new config. She bribed them with manual overrides. Engine spooled. Admiral's last salute flickered her periphery. She lifted vertical, flaps thrumming. ###, asterisk, #### of space. She climbed steep. Afterburner, then booster engaged a deafening shove. The world fell away. Ocean shrinking to sapphire mosaic. Skin temperatures soared. Heat tiles smoked. HUD altitude ticked 80K, 90K, 98K. Booster flameout. She coasted ballistic at Mach 5.3. Warhead MIRVs shimmered ahead, like faint meteors upward. She armed remaining 25mm depleted uranium penetrators magazine emergency loaded. She computed intercept vectors. Shoot noses to alter trajectory. Just enough they burn up or splash. Jets do not dogfight asteroids. But she would. If you've ever aimed for the impossible because nothing else remained. She rolled inverted. Fin skipping vacuum, line first MIRV. Timer to re-entry 90 sec. She fired 3-round burst. Shells invisible, time dilation surreal. Impact detectors flared. MIRV sled tumbled, deviating. Second MIRV next range long. She vectored RCS thrusters, experimental, for attitude control. A gyro whined. Shell from cannon jammed the gun seized, barrel overheated earlier. She cursed. New idea. Scramjet booster housing empty, but explosive bolts still armed. She could use entire sleeve as kinetic projectile. She jettisoned sleeve. Remote steered via thrust vector leftover hydrazine. At 2,000 meters separation, she rammed it into second MIRV. Both exploded into glitter. 2 left, Caleb climbing but slower. Maeve targeted third but lacked ammo. She matched vector, nudged with wingtip, risk of disintegration high. Contact jar jolted, MIRV tilted, path shifted 0.4 degrees. Will miss city, land in sea. Last MIRV out of reach. Descent imminent. She radioed. Caleb, your shot. He fired Python 5 modified seeker, improbable angle. Missile chased heat of nose, struck 50 kilometers above sea. Safe, cheering across nets. But Maeve's F-35 now ballistic without booster. Engine flame out after fuel starvation from high G. She began long fall, no power, high altitude. Thin air. She might glide to base, but structure charred. Hydraulics fried. At 60,000 feet. Controls mush. She tried restart. Turbopump locked. Firelight erupted and bay oxygen lines ablaze. She pulled eject handle. Seat rocketed. Canopy shards tore cloth. Parachute deployed, but again high winds shredded panel. She deployed reserve streamer partial. Descent still too fast. Below, coastline and sea blurred. She braced for punch. Impact water smashed. Darkness closed. Harness tangled, dragging her down. She cut cords, surfaced, coughing blood. Waves gentle now, midday shimmer deceptively calm. In distance, rescue hello blades. She floated, fatigue. Crushing. But horizon behind bright water, spewed column of smoke. Atlas Valor sabotage, elsewhere still hitting fuel depot. War not over. As medic lifted her, she locked gaze on plume, whispered, "Tell them I'm not done." Helicopter lifted, ocean receding, yet shadow below. Submersible drone trailing, broadcasting live feed of her rescue to satellites. Spinning narrative. Rogue pilot threatens regional stability. She watched camera lens beneath waterline follow. The information war had begun. Fade to white. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're from. If this story moves you, please subscribe. Tomorrow, I have a special story for you. Sunlight returned in shards, stabbing through the Seahawk's open hatch and sketching Maeve Rilland's silhouette against a sky the color of scorched titanium. She lay strapped to the rescue litter, salt slick hair plastered to her temples. Every breath dragging the memory of seawater from her lungs. Below, Brightwater's coastline blurred a smear of industrial smoke, ruptured fuel tanks, and gridless neighborhoods staring up at a crippled dawn. The information war Atlas Valor promised had landed with the accuracy its missiles never achieved. Power out. Comms jammed, and 1,000 social media feeds already echoing the lie that a rogue pilot her had sparked the crisis. The rescue crew whispered. Not condemnation, but worry. Orders crackled contradictory through their headsets. Some channel called her a hero. Another flagged her capture high priority. She watched confusion ripple like heat haze and knew the battlefield had shifted from skies to signals. Drop a if you've ever been trapped in the story. Someone else wrote about you. They touched down on the Veracity's Med Bay helipad. Maeve's boots found deck, wobbly but functional. Medics tried to steer her to triage, but Admiral Rourke intercepted, jaw granite. "Leave the bandages. We need her in CIC." His tone left no room for dissent. Blood pressure monitors clicked. Off, and she followed, forcing lungs to rhythm. Inside CIC, the glow of monitors met the stink of burned insulation repairs ongoing. Big board displayed red webs across the archipelago, cell networks offline. Satellite uplink spoofed, coastal radar blinded by malware. But worst was the trending data feed plastered along the bottom. Hashtag ghost pilot, hashtag false flag, hashtag Rilland reckoning. Millions retweeting a clip from that submerged drone's lens, her exhausted face hoisted into the Seahawk. Slowed for dramatic effect, branded traitor across lower thirds. Admiral Rourke crossed arms. Domestic networks already eating disinformation. Civilian panic is minutes away. Our comms assets are either cut or compromised. Maeve scanned board. Atlas Valor predicted kinetic defeat, switched to narrative. They'll uproot trust. Faster than missiles. Lieutenant Paley C., IC's young cyber lead spoke. We traced the bot swarm to a floating data barge calcine Marrow Station, sitting 12 nautical miles outside territorial waters. It's broadcasting deepfake packages to every reachable platform. We sink it. The storm of lies dies with it. Rourke shook head. Rules of engagement prevent direct strike. Diplomatic disaster if we torch a civilian-flagged vessel without proof. Maeve flexed bruised fingers. Then we board it, Extract proof, stream truth in real time. How? Paley asked. Marine assault craft need 3 hours to prep. By then, Merrow's already slipped and stories cemented. She studied the map, a swirl of currents, a corridor of low altitude safe from radar. Give me my jet end. An ops team. Will Halo jump onto the barge, hack the core, broadcast raw archives before they can wipe? Your jet is scrap. She turned to Caleb Jourdain, leaning on crutch with ankle brace remnant of last dogfight. How long to bolt a jump door on a Bravo? He half smiled. 20 minutes if Chief Leary holds the torch. They looked to Rourke. The Admiral inhaled, exhaled, signaled approval with a curt nod. Hash, hash, hash. 15 minutes later, Hangar 2 was pandemonium. Sparks rained from Leary's oxy rig as he carved a rectangular hatch into the F-35 B's port fuselage, just behind cockpit, over the internal weapon bay, now empty after nights of consumption. Inside, riggers installed a pallet of static lines and microglides, each tagged to a compact infiltration chute. Maeve checked harness, stuffed pockets with fiber spools, wristed tack pad loaded with root keys. Caleb kitted 4 specialists too. Electronic warfare techs, a Marine Corps linguist for live translation, and Petty Officer Monroe, the red-haired deck brute who'd saved her earlier, now lugging an AA-12 autoloader. The Bravo's control surfaces pinged diagnostics. Fuel. Topped. 1 AIM-9 hung for defense. Stealth irrelevant now. Weather at target. Clearing squall. Visibility poor perfect. Hangar doors slid. Deck crew signaled taxi. Maeve climbed cockpit. Caleb crouched jump deck behind cargo hatch. Monroe clapped gloved hands. Showtime. Takeoff vertical nozzle blasting midday heat that smelled of melted rubber and adrenaline. Maeve climbed 300 feet, transitioned to forward flight, hugging wave tops. Caleb's voice inside intercom measured calm. ETA target 5 minutes. Barge broadcast peaked bots flooding hospital frequencies with terror calls. We cut them off or people die of stampede. Storm-shredded clouds parted to reveal Merrow. Station. From above, it looked like a floating warehouse bracketed by solar arrays and a small helipad. Containers stacked mid-deck camouflaged a data center heat signatures intense even through spray. Maeve. Leveled 1,000 feet downwind. Go hot in 10. Cargo hatch blew open. Wind screamed through cabin. 4 shadows stepped into slipstream. Chutes deploying micro-silent. Maeve throttled upward, vectoring to keep barge sensor logs confused. When last chute cleared slipstream, she banked away, jinking against assumed SAMs. None appeared. She climbed to 2,000, entered lazy circle radio. Open. Caleb's grunt popped. On deck, light resistance. 2 security drones neutralized. Gunfire crackled distant. Then quiet. Maeve tracked helmet cams in for feed, jittered as team hustled down ladder into container labyrinth. Inside, aisles tight. Racks of servers blinked like city at night terabytes. Of falsehood pumping fiber veins. Utek D'Angelo spooled patch, searching root node. Linguist Chun flagged signboard Norwegian registry, corporate shell. Meanwhile Monroe watched rear, shotgun loaded with frangible. Maeve kept orbit, scanning horizon. She saw shape-fast skimmer boat, turning wide arc to barge 6 signatures, likely Atlas Valor QRF. She radioed. Heads up, reinforcements inbound. 2 minutes. Caleb replied between breaths. Copy. Data vault sealed behind blast door working. Maeve nose dipped, considered strafing skimmer, but held shot needed confirm hostile. Coast Guard channel unresponsive. A flicker skimmer fired tracers at Gulf Lock. Confirmed. She armed AIM-9, lined up. Mistletoe steady. She fired. Python chased. Struck water 10 meters from boat IR seeker, confused by engine mask plating. Skimmer spun, launching shoulder. SAM, Maeve rolled, flare dump. Missile splash. Second SAM launched. She flared against success, but fuel decreased. She couldn't linger. She switched to gun, dove, cannon roar, shredding skimmer hull. Boat exploded, plume of fire raining debris. Threat solved. Back in vault, Chun cracked passphrase open. The team rushed inside. D'Angelo plugged fiber, started dump. Terabytes. Gushed. Files. Recorded briefings linking Atlas Valor CFO to black market arms. Contract memos. Deepfake templates. Orders to target Maeve's credentials. Proof clear. Halfway through transfer, alarms wailed. Self-destruct countdown 300 seconds. Containers venting halon. Caleb shouted, "We pull plug?" Maeve voice steady. "Send highlight reel first. Globe must see before barge sinks." Data compression hammered. At 120 seconds, exterior cannons stowed in crates, unfurled turret, popped, scanning sky. Maeve realized barge had CIW's derivative. She climbed above, radar cross-section low but not invisible. Rounds zipped near canopy. Time for action. She toggled data link to the F-35's microwave emitter extended frequency. She had used trick before, now turned on turret sensors. She dove, high alpha decil, blasted emitter from 500 feet, fried turret servo. It locked, barrel drooped useless. Caleb's team reached deck with evac chutes as first container detonated inside. Flame belching. Maeve lined up approach, deployed rescue cable normally reserved for refuel hose. They clipped harnesses as deck. Buckled. She yanked collective. Jet heavier but airworthy. Burner roar dragging them into air like kites. Package transmitted, D'Angelo gasped. World feed echoing. Indeed, Maeve's secondary HUD overlaid trending shift hashtag ghost pilot plummeting. Hashtag Atlas Valor exposed skyrocketing. Public eye pivoting, but new grief arrived. Paleon CIC, Atlas Valor HQ wing embedded inside orbiting. Private station, just initiated fallback brace. Their AI core launching last retaliatory kill, order 1 target. You. Maeve almost laughed. Corporate obsession. Paley's voice shook. They've paid bounty to rogue satellite operator. They're steering a decommissioned LEO ComSat onto carrier's coordinates. It will drop like tungsten rod, kinetic energy 8 tons. Time? Re-entry interface 90 minutes. Orbital. Mechanics. She'd danced near space once tonight, but intercepting a falling satellite needed earlier window. Her Bravo couldn't climb that high again with external load and carrying team. Caleb coughed. Set us down on veracity, then we tweak booster prototype again. She complied. Touchdown. Crew rushed prisoners, 2 captured guards too. Brig. Text-to-data replicators. Admiral eyes bright. Truth flooding networks. Governments freezing Atlas Valor accounts. Civilian panic easing, but falling satellite still unstoppable bullet. Rook gathered engineers. Option. Aegis SM-3 from destroyer Avid 200 miles north ET. To intercept path maybe, if reposition. But typhoon currents had scattered fleet. And propulsion damage slowed Avid. Another. Scramble NASA debris payload team hours. Not enough. Maeve offered third. PAC-B F-35B scramjet sleeve again, but lighten wake to max altitude. Load single kinetic penetrator. Intercept satellite in exosphere before drop. Chief engineer shook head. Boost sleeve burnt up, second left. Leary grinned. I've got carbon spare. They spent 30 frantic minutes bolting second. Sleeve, stripping armor panels. Removing cockpit ejection seat to shed mass. Maeve strapped to carbon shell harness. Survival odds plummeted, but altitude potential rose. Caleb insisted on wingmen again, but lacked booster. She denied too slow. He accepted, embedding failsafe codes into autopilot. If Maeve lost comms, drone kill switch would propagate anyway. She rolled to runway, gusts steady. Deck crew looked like ghosts, faces pallid yet proud. Monroe tapped canopy glass. Droppa, for luck. Maeve lifted, afterburner screaming, ocean flaring white beneath. Booster engaged thrust, slammed spine. Stars rushed at 110,000 feet. She coasted ballistic arc, scanning radar for satellite, a tumbling metal bus streaking sunlit silver. Approach vector 20 degrees off nose. She aligned, tail jets controlling attitude via RCS thrusters now repurposed. She armed last weapon, a tungsten slug in modified missile casing. Remote thruster ring. Simple, lethal. This story took us a long time. If you like it, subscribe. Now back to the story. She fired thruster, slug shot ahead, but satellite rotated unpredictably. She used microwave emitter again, nudged satellite's sun sensor array, altering tumble, lining up path. Slug impacted, satellite split but debris still inbound. Cloud of shrapnel with same KE potential. She toggled vent valves, dumping remaining scramjet fuel into a cone. Then she ignited it with engine restart, creating plasma plume that pushed debris cloud outward. Majority deviated, burning up. 2 fragments persisted. She had nothing left. Range to fragments closing on lower atmosphere. She radioed Caleb. He answered, "I see them. And I've got Python warheads." His Bravo had sprinted after all, using high-alt afterburner climb bare bones. He fired both. One struck, second missed but induced tumble. Last shard burned on re-entry path toward open ocean. Threat over. But Maeve's F-35 now glided powerless again. At 80K, weightless for seconds. Booster ruptured piping earlier, engine dead. She had shed ejection seat. No escape. She aimed for altitude to glide to veracity. Calculations grim. Would ditch 50 miles short. Paley patched rescue plan dirigible drone modified for rapid float snag. Too late, Maeve considered self. She had pulled impossible arrows until quiver. Empty, now world safe, reputation clear. Atlas valor unraveling. Cost, maybe her. She keyed open channel. Caleb, tell everyone. Make the sky a place where worth matters more than rank. Caleb's voice cracked. Cut the drama. We're finding you. He vectored below, remote-triggered autopilot of Maeve's craft a slave. To his, he roped tow cable from belly hardpoint experimental refuel hose repurposed. At 60,000 feet, air-thin cable tough. He maneuvered until cable fouled Maeve's dorsal hook ring. Tension jolted. His jet dragged hers, speed 250 knots. Both bleeding altitude, but slower. They descended in tandem, 2 wounded birds. Towline shimmering. 30 minutes later, they crossed veracity. Engines sputtering but above stall. Caleb released cable. Maeve dove through final 3,000 feet, wind howling through stripped cockpit seams. She configured for emergency vertical, no lift fan weight. She used remaining RCS nitrogen to stabilize, descending like space capsule. Gearless. Belly landing across foam-blanketed deck they'd prepared. Sparks flew. Fuselage rasped metal. Then stillness. Crew rushed, pulling hatch. Maeve crawled out, knees jelly. She removed helmet, tasting brine on lips and unforeseen tears. Admiral Rourke met her, face slack with relief. Above, world networks flashed. Atlas Valor leaders arrested. Drone net secure. Civilians safe. Monroe shoved mug into her hand. Coffee? She laughed throat raw, always. As night settled, Typhoon Kali blew itself north, leaving stars. Maeve stood on fantail, shoulder taped, mind drifting. Caleb joined, silent a while. Finally he spoke. Tomorrow, hearings, medals, maybe lawsuits. What then? She sipped cooling brew. Whatever sky still needs someone crazy enough to climb. Red beacons blinked across deck, but this time they marked nothing urgent, just routine flight checks for a world that could breathe again. Far off, coastal cities rebooted, lights winking on like forgotten constellations. She closed her eyes. Hearing Dad's voice, control is breath. She inhaled slow, exhaled. Control returned. 2 more great stories are next. Don't miss them. Subscribe and turn on notifications.